what's happening? Normal American Show, Rob Knorr, out of jail. Well, I wasn't in jail, I was at work. Same difference. Glad to be here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I got to hang out with my family. Woo! I thought I was going to be at work for like 2 months straight. So I made it, baby. I'm home. Oh, my goodness. What a crazy week. What a crazy week. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But I made it, baby. I'm back. Whoo! It's good to see you all. My goodness, I'm having a good day. So, I like to share a lot in the channel about my personal life whenever. I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't have a really exciting gossipy type life. And I don't have a lot of scandal stuff going on. I'm just kind of a boring 40-year-old man. I love it that way. I love it. But, you know, every once in a while something happens in my life that I can't really talk about, especially work-related stuff. And as you know, because I do healthcare, there are privacy concerns and things like that. So I'm not here. I never even allude to sort of medical issues or things like that people are having at work. But my goodness, some of the inner office politics stuff, it's just enough to... So, needless to say, through some a quad scandal, through some things that were outside of my control, it was looking for a minute there like I was going to be stuck at work. And when I'm at work, I'm there 24/7. Now, I'll be honest, there are times when I could like go to lunch with my wife as long as the people I'm working for are up for a trip. But my goodness, it was looking pretty grim there for a couple days. When I mean like Gibbs, and I watched the whooping you gave Hutch today. I did not, man. I did not. I was working. I always get crazy overtime. I average 90 to 100 hours a week. But this was... So, for those that are interested, what I do is called block shifts. Now, I'm not always on the clock. So, I'll go into a home. I work with a person or people in a home that have autism, adults, or other sort of developmental disabilities. And then I get to clock out. Sometimes I stream when I clock out, but I still have to be there in case an emergency comes in. Yeah, have a good one, Gibbs. I didn't see Andrew's debate either. So we're supposed to have 3 staff, so I'm supposed to work 1/3 of the week. Well, for a year, we've only had 2 staff, which means I literally have to work half the week. But then if something happens to the other staff, like if he needs a week off, that means I have to work 10 days straight. It was looking like we may have lost our other staff. Seeing as how they've been trying to fill the 3rd staff position for a year and have been unsuccessful, it was looking pretty bleak if the other staff was not going to come back to work, that I was going to be there for a long, long time. And I got called in. Saturday in sort of an emergency basis, and that was that. So I did hear a little about Andrew's debate, but yeah, I hear you, Hoser. I do. That clip was crazy, right? We'll talk about some clips. We'll do a little drama today. Why not? We'll talk about me crushing lefties. That sounds fun. Crushing establishment bootlickers. Whee! Then we'll talk about whatever else people want to talk about as well. So, but yeah, I'm back. I'm in a good mood because I'm back. I don't go back into work until Sunday. I share a driveway with a neighbor. He's very cool. My neighbor's a really cool guy. Enjoy him and his family. They're all very nice. And me and my wife and Hank were getting out of the car. We stopped at a little farmer stand and bought some cucumbers and some other veggies because this weekend we're going to my friend's place to can things. So we're going to can pickles and I think some pasta sauce and things like that. And my neighbor's like, man, I got to talk to you about your hobbies. You're sort of boring. I was like, yeah, I know. I am boring. I stream and I go on canning adventures. So, but it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think it'll be nice. We're going up with some friends canning. It should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. And then I got some going on next weekend too. That should be fun. I can't remember. But yeah, it's looking nice. Like that to me is vacation, where instead of working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then having Thursday and Friday off, actually having Thursday, Friday, and Saturday off is like a vacation to me. So I got 2 weeks where I got 3 days off in each week. So I'm very excited. What's up, Sparky? Yeah, the ads, man, they'll get you. Send me money. Subscribe, then you don't have to. So here we're trying, like, the goal tonight is I need to raise, I don't know, what's a reasonable, I don't want to be too ridiculous here. So I'm trying to get, there we go, Sparky with $2, getting the ball rolling. What I'm trying to do, we'll just say modestly tonight, like 10 grand, 10,000 US dollars. If I get that donated tonight, we'll call it a successful show. Other than that, it would be a disappointment. I'm just messing with you guys. I never really got big into canning growing up, so this I've done it here and there, but I don't have a goal. I just like money. So, all right. So, where did you last leave off with me? Well, I debated this guy, Elder Drazi. So, I was super disheveled. Thanks so much, Cowboys. Appreciate the sub. Super disheveled. I was. Do I agree with your takeaway that Counterpoints takes marching orders from Progressive Victory? I don't know about that. I think that there are things that he censors himself from saying because he gets a paycheck from Progressive Victory, but I don't think that he's completely just repeating talking points from them. What is canning? So, like making pickles, or it should be called jarring because you're putting stuff in a jar, right? But it's when you put things in a jar that, well, thank you so much for the follow, WTF. Appreciate it. It's where you're, thank you, Cowboys, for the cheer. I appreciate it. It's where you're purposefully, or you're basically packaging food that it'll last for a long time. Kimchi, that's another thing. Thank you, Bench Press, for the follow. Did I get botted? These some good names. Let's see it. No? All right. Yeah. Oh, we could talk about the Destiny Pisco hippy dippy business. I'll give my point of view on it. Again, I didn't see it. Thanks for the subscription, WTF. Appreciate it. Really do. What the foreskin? Mid-bench press. Look at this. I like it. First we'll talk about my debate with Elder Drazi. So, here's the full lore of what went down. I'm giving Elder Drazi shit behind the scenes because I think he's being way too needy about these topics. He tells me he's the most researched man like out there on COVID. He wants to have this COVID debate with me for like a month and a half. Okay, we finally settled down. It's going to be Saturday. There's shit talking, blah, blah, blah. Most of it's my fault. Whatever, I don't care. I get annoyed. My buddy Sparky could verify this. Like, I get annoyed because, like, here's the thing about me. 95% of the work I put into my channel is what you see. I come on, I title a live stream, and bam, I go. That's it. I no longer have time. When I first started this, I was doing research behind the scenes a lot and stuff. I don't really have that time anymore. I'm away from my family at work 90, 100 hours a week. I like to spend time with my family. Hank's going to bed right now. I come up, I do a little stream. Thanks so fucks for the follow. Appreciate it. So that's the reality of the situation, right? Thanks for the sub, man. Appreciate it. So, you know, this is what I do. I just stream. Thank you so much for the cheer. I appreciate it. Twitch is crushing YouTube tonight on the donations. And there's only 20 people watching on Twitch and 60 on YouTube. Wow. Killing it. So it's just this, like, I don't like to deal with all the, like, oh, okay, we're going to set up a debate. And then you're like, okay, Shine, whatever, debate. I'll talk about whatever you want. Let's go. Well, now we need a moderator. Okay, you find a moderator. I don't care. Now we need these specific subtopics. Yeah, okay. Thanks so much, Galil. $10. F Twitch. Couldn't agree more. So I just, a little pissy about it. Whatever, Elder Drazi wanted the screen caps released from our DM. I released the DMs. And then, of course, Elder Drazi sort of probably has some people that follow him that are around the Destiny community. Rob's a bitch and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's being a little pissy, that bit. Anyways, Elder Drazi talking big game. He's going to hand me big fat L. I'm going to get this big L debating the most knowledgeable person on COVID, man. Woo! That's tough. That's tough. I'm debating someone who's read everything on COVID. Gonna be tough. Bandit, thanks for the $2 super chat. Suck at Twitch, yeah. Yeah, use your Prime sub, that's right. If you're on YouTube and you have Amazon Prime, you can send me a free sub on Twitch. You get one a month. So, yeah, 1,000 more of those $2. Yeah, I got you, Go Rams. How you doing, man? It's good to hear from you, too. Anyways, so, all right. I'm like, who knows? Maybe this Elder Drazi character. I wasn't impressed when I debated him and the rest of the Progressive Victory people on that panel with Brianna Wu. They sucked. Econoboy was in here earlier. You sucked, too. Yeah, that was a bad panel for you all. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe this guy will bring the goods on COVID. Let's do her. And I always get excited when I'm talking to people about the subjects that they like the most. Yeah, as far as I know, I'm still blacklisted from Destiny. Ooh. So away we went. We were going to do this debate. And then, of course, I didn't have time to do a bunch of research or anything. But I've debated COVID many times over the past year. And I do have sources saved on my computer. And then all of a sudden I get this call in as an emergency. I got to go to work. And then I don't even know if I get there, even though I'm supposed to be off the clock, if sometimes emergencies come up. And I'm like, man, if I have to back out of this debate, this guy's going to eat me alive. Like the X community is going to be like, coward, backed out. Sparky, thanks for $5. I agree, screw Twitch. YouTube coming back. And I was like, oh, shit. And I really, 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 really do try to keep my commitments. In fact, the only person I recall ever screwing over is Aircraft Sparky. Thank you, TL. I appreciate it, the sub. Sparky, who's probably one of my favorite people that I interact with. Like, I actually talk to Sparky like friends would on the phone outside of just streaming. And I did screw him over once because I was going to moderate a debate for him. And then something else conflicted with it, something else that I was looking forward to. And so I asked him if I could put off that debate. And he said, sure. And then we ended up never getting around to it. So that's the only time I could think where I promised someone I would do a stream with them and I didn't come through. So I really wanted to come through on this. And because the nature of this emergency at work, I had no idea when my next day off would be. So I had to do it on my work computer that overheats. And I thought to myself, boy, if ever there was a day to catch me, unprepared, disheveled, talking to a guy who claims he knows everything. He's read everything about the topic. And I have to say, I didn't see Andrew debate Muslim Lantern. I saw a couple of the highlights. I'll have to say, and I could say this being as honest as I can, it was one of the most disappointing debate performances I've ever seen. It was that bad by Elder Drazi. Now, I'll be honest, he doesn't seem like a bad dude, so I'm not trying to dogpile him. And after this guy, and me and him were going back and forth on X, and he was talking about how he was going to give me these L's, and he was repeating the Destiny's fan cope, like, Rob, chat GPT. Okay. I could have went on X and been like, oh, just turn that screw. Because I think anyone who watched, it's up on YouTube, I think that anyone who watched that debate would say, he got smoked. He got absolutely crushed. He didn't even know, like, the papers from the CDC. He didn't know basic stuff like the details of sending COVID patients to nursing homes by Cuomo and Tom Wolf. I was amazed. I thought he was going to have research papers and he's going to be talking statistics about vaccines. He didn't have anything. He didn't present one source other than a CNN article of quotes of Trump. I was shocked. I knew I was a better debater than him, but that's not everything, right? Like, if you just know more than your opponent, even if they're better at debating, you're going to sound good. Anybody who watches that debate and thinks he's read more about COVID than anyone, let alone me, who I'm admitting, I've probably read more than most people, but by goodness, I'd never claim that I read more than anyone. Thank you so much, Roar, for the $5 super chat. What do you think about the RFK Jr. news? I think it's good. I think allegedly he's going to support Trump. So I mean, it was just shocking to me. Shocking at how poor he did. And I think that it also, I don't think he knew what he was getting into, which surprises me, because he claimed that he was watching me debate this before, and I assume he watched me debate Destiny and COVID was part of it. So I mean, if you guys are bored, you can go watch it. It's like a 2-hour debate. All credit to Tom Foolery, who I bitched about being the moderator. Not because I was worried that the moderator would gang up on me. I'm just so tired of I always agree to debate. Anytime I'm debating, I agree to their topic. I agree to their channel rules. I agree to their moderator. And it just gets old. But Tom did a great job moderating, I thought. So, I mean, it was not a great showing for old Elder Drazi. I don't know. I'll admit when I debate someone, I'm biased. I think I win 95 to 98% of the debates I do. I really do. But that's because I'm biased. But I can admit, hey, that's someone I debated that did a good job. And I could see how someone watching could say, I think that person won. Or I think that person had a lot of good points. I don't know how anyone could have watched that debate with Elder Drazi and said, yeah, he's doing well here. It was really bad. And I think that it's got to be sad when you talk yourself up as the most knowledgeable person. And you're like, oh, I'm going to crush this dude and blah, blah, blah. And then that happens. This debate I did on COVID Saturday with Elder Drazi. So, hey, man. I don't know. It was sad. Then we get to the hippy dippy debate. All right, man. I didn't watch the hippy dippy debate. So for those who don't know, Dylan Burns runs Hippy Dippy podcast. He used to. It was sort of one of the original. I don't want to say original. One of the first panel shows that I did. That and Prime K's show were the two panels I used to do all the time, 4 years ago. And then Dylan went to Ukraine, and the Hippy Dippy sort of stopped. That was the name of his show, this panel show. And then they're bringing it back somewhat. And so I'll give you all the juicy details behind the scenes, what happened with that, to the best of my recollection. His producer's a guy named Danabo. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Danabo. I actually think Danabo's one of the nicest guys I've interacted with on here. But the last time I talked to Danabo, he was ready to bite my head off because I was criticizing Dylan for various things, whatever. So he came on stream. We sort of talked through it. I didn't think it was a big deal. I don't think he personally dislikes me or anything as a result of that. Then Danabo, he has helped me. He helped me set up my Discord channel. He's helped me get guests on shows that I've done in the past. So I don't mind helping Danabo out. I like Danabo, willing to help him out. He reaches out to me and says, hey, Rob, we're bringing back to Hippy Dippy. There's going to be a 4-on-4 round, and then there's going to be a 2-on-2 round, and we want you to debate Destiny in the 2-on-2 round. This is a month ago. I said, okay. He says, who would you want your partner to be? I said, I don't give a shit. I don't. I was but if I were you all, I'd try to get a bigger name. Try to get someone like a Dave Smith or a Jimmy Dore or, Glenn Greenwald. Someone like that. Because I don't care who my partner is. I'm going to say my shit regardless. I don't care if my partner helps me or hinders me. I'm going to say what I want. But it'd be nice for your channel to get someone. Andrew would be fine. That would be fine too. But I don't know that. I thought that maybe they would try to get a big name that was outside of sort of the debate sphere to kind of grow the brand. And I was but I'm happy with anyone. No problem. Cool. And then I said, the only problem is I can't confirm right now because my work schedule. So you're going to have to give me a couple days to get a hold of my supervisor to see what's going on. And then a day or two later, Danabo reached out and said, listen, we're not sure if we're going to need you because thank you so much, Deadly Waffle, for the 1,000. Oh, this is important. I was told the topic was, is democracy on the ballot? Or democracy is on the ballot. That was the topic I was told. I believe that was the exact words. I said, okay, fine, no problem. I can debate that. A couple days later, he says, hey, Actual Justice Warrior Sean and Lauren Southern, we reached out to them as well as a team. So, if I don't want to bump you, but I said, hey, man, I don't mind. No problem. I think they're both reasonable debaters. I don't think that, no hard feelings. And then he reached back and was like, yeah, they confirmed. So that's it. No problem. And I don't have hard feelings. It's perfectly reasonable. Now, since then, I debated Destiny and he blacklisted me. Whoa, blacklisted. Whoa. So I don't know if he would have debated. If I was on that panel, he may have said no, he wasn't going to debate me. And I know why he would say that, because he knows. He knows. That's what the black was. That's what the rage quit was. He knows. He knows. So anyways, I didn't watch the debate, but then I heard the fallout and the drama, largely thanks to the X feud that's going on. Thanks so much, Drew the Dogman, Super Chat $5. Had my first YouTube debate Saturday, and the last 2 hours of the Tom stream was pretty funny. Hope you had fun, man. So apparently, I didn't watch this, but I guess I'll speak to just what I know about it. Apparently, the debate occurs, and there's confusion on the part of actual justice warrior of what the topic actually is. Now, I don't know all the details, but apparently Counterpoint's Connor reached out to actual justice warrior. He was the one who reached out to him. And I guess AJW thought the topic was something to the effect of, if Trump wins, will he destroy democracy? Now, it's close enough that I don't know. I think it's in the same vein. I can understand how the specifics of the topic wording could lead. For me, I just don't give a shit. I'll meld the topic how I need to. I'm not really concerned if someone says the exact wording of the topic is this and blah, blah, blah. I talk about the topic and then branch out in a way that still makes sense to talking about the topic. I don't know who's at fault. I can't say. I didn't watch the debate. So I don't know if AJW was like refusing to sort of engage because he was like, nope, that wasn't the topic that I was aware of. Or if he was saying things and then Destiny and his partner were like, this is ridiculous. This isn't the specific topic. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's laughable. At some point you have to say, who's the last big three debates that I know of that Destiny had? Andrew Wilson, me, and AJW. How come every time he leaves a debate, he's like, oh, bad faith, the other side's bad faith, they're the worst people ever. With Andrew, he was unwilling to debate the topic. Then with me, the agreed upon topic was, we'll talk half about what the definitions of insurrection was, and then half about the double standard of how it's applied. We talked about the definitions for 5 hours, and then he rage quit and said he blacklisted me. So the very criticism he had of Andrew Wilson, he didn't debate the agreed upon topic, is exactly what he did to me. Then with AJW, he's clearly bad faith, he's not debating the specific topic, blah, 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 blah. The Connor Boy says, AJW was saying since Destiny Hutch don't think that Trump will literally end democracy altogether, then Hutch and Destiny lose the debate because democracy isn't really on the ballot. It's an interesting argument. The semantics of it are sort of, I don't really give a shit about that sort of stuff. Like, I understand. To me, the debates we do online here aren't the same as like collegiate debates. Like a collegiate debate, if the topic is, let's think of something. Should Roe v. Wade be overturned? Like, that was sort of a topic that it's worded way differently in that. Then you win if you prove that it should be overturned, and you lose if you don't. And the wording's very important. Like, you could argue about the definition. So what we're doing here is not... Thank you so much, Deadly Waffle. I appreciate the cheer for 2,000. Thank you. That's 20 bones or clams or whatever. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's not like that to me. As long as you're debating the spirit of the topic, that's what matters. So, like, I wouldn't buy AJW's argument there. I would just be like, well, if Trump would be bad for democracy, that goes in favor of the Destiny Hutch side of the debate. You know, and there's plenty of ground that the Democrat ticket's bad for democracy as well. And then there's also arguments to have that it's overblown. So I think there's plenty of ground there for both sides. I know some people like to argue the semantics, and to be fair, one of my favorite people, Andrew Wilson, he likes to argue the definitions of terms very much. It's not my style necessarily. So I don't know. But what I do know is it seems at some point, when do you say, like, if you're watching Destiny, it's like, how is it that everyone he debates now, this is the same guy I have clips of saying, well, when people say that their opponents are bad faith, that's just laziness and a way of saying, I don't know how to respond to them. And yet that's all he could do now. Bad faith, bad faith, bad faith. Why was I bad faith? Well, because in two things, according to Destiny. In a 5-hour discussion, when referencing his authors for his definition. I looked up several articles 11 days prior preparing for a different debate, and I used AI to see if they thought that state insurrections would be a reason to keep you off the ballot. I screenshotted those because I was at work, and then I literally did not have one day at home on my computer to bring up those articles and save them in a bookmark folder like I do, and highlight the relevant portions, because that's how we did it in debate, and that's just how I keep sources. That's how I do it. I didn't have time to do that, so in the middle of this debate, Destiny brings up a point that was sort of stupid sounding to me, that was like, states can't have insurrections. Why? That makes no sense. I said, I think your author said, I read that your author said that. Well, really? I said, I didn't do a ton of research. I didn't read their paper or anything, but I did read some reviews of it, which is true. So I found the screenshot, didn't realize it was from AI. Long story short, by the time I send it, Destiny asks, send over the screenshot. I send it over. He says, this looks like it's from AI. I said, yeah, it's from Claude. End of story. Then we proceed to talk 2 hours later. For that, I'm bad faith. Because I didn't come right out and say, this is AI, which I didn't know at the time. And then the other thing was, you tortured the AI. Cruel Rob torturing the AI bot. Oh, I tortured the AI to give the answer I wanted. Okay, but the answer was right. Now, it might have been wrong, as if Bode and Paulson say that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment applies to state-level insurrections, but it was right for what I used it for, which was there are state-level insurrections. That's true. We went to the source, we saw it. Somehow Destiny, who apparently has read and done all of this research, he missed that. So it's just cope and bitterness and seething from Destiny and his crowd, that they're pissed off that he doesn't read his own sources enough, as even Pisco admitted. He lies and says he reads all this shit thoroughly. He doesn't. And then he's pissed off because even if I did torture the AI, which I didn't, I asked it 2 or 3 prompts. The first one was a misspelling and it brought up completely different people, Lawrence Tribe and some guy named Maglucy or something. Who gives a shit if I did torture it? I came to the more correct answer than Destiny, who claimed he read the whole damn paper. And yet that's bad faith. The other reason he says I'm bad faith is because I pretended to know more than him. What the fuck is that? What? So I guess it's bad faith to Destiny if, like, you debate him and are winning. That's bad faith because you know, as a full-time streamer, he's looked at this shit more than you. So clearly he's right. And if you say he's wrong, then you're pretending to know more than him, which means that you're bad faith. Fucking idiot. Cope, seethe. That's what happened. Destiny controlled the debate, the topic he wanted for 5 hours, and he still lost and didn't do that well. And I didn't even get to the good shit that I had about the double standard and how him and the Democrats apply terms like insurrection. That's it. That's what happened. And he rage quit and said he blacklisted me because he knows. So he promised that we would have equal time to talk about the double standard and equal time to talk about the semantical definitions. We talked for 5 hours about what he wanted. He fucking rage quit and blacklisted me. Fuck him. Cope, seethe, end. So even though I didn't watch the whole debate with AJW, tell you what it looked like again to me, more Destiny bullshit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong this time. But how many times is he and his audience going to do this and all of his orbiters? Oh, it wasn't the exact topic that they used. I didn't like the sources that they used. Pinkerton, super chat, €5.99. Thank you. I'm going to have my first debate in YouTube Rumble soon. I would love it to be versus Destiny, you know, because I'd like to start off with an easy W. He's a good rhetorician, but I feel you. Look, man, it's like the old Mike Tyson saying, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Debate's similar. Now, I'm not saying it's like physically violent, but you can have a plan going into a debate, and then oftentimes within 5 minutes, it's not going as you planned. But Wes, it doesn't bother me that he calls me bad faith. I don't give a shit. I think it's funny. Every day now I post something on X, and I'm getting way more engagement than I used to because 50 to 80% of the people responding to me is like, did ChatGPT write that for you? It's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. I don't care. Yeah, they wrote it. Rob GPT. Sure. Sounds great. Sounds badass, man. I'll take it. I don't care. And then I did see this exchange going on about a specific claim that AJW Sean made in the debate, where something to this effect, that he was talking about prosecutors that went after Trump, like Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Fani Willis, and how they ran on the promise of getting Trump. And he conflated, I believe, Letitia James and Alvin Bragg's comments. Alvin Bragg never said, I'm going to find cases to go after Trump. Alvin Bragg said, I have a great record of going after Trump. And then we're supposed to not read into that he's clearly saying, I'm going to get Trump. That's the argument. Did he literally say, I'm going to make up a case and go after Trump? No. He just was like, oh, when it comes to going after Trump, I have a great record of going after him. And so you have Destiny Mop-Up Boy. You know, if Destiny was an OnlyFans channel, Pisco would be the guy with the mop and the rag afterwards, cleaning up the room, cleaning up the couch. He'd wait there patiently watching. So that's Pisco. And he comes in, oh, I got the timestamps. Let's look what he said. He lied, blah, 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 blah. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Now, one of the things I think is interesting, and you see Destiny and company do this a lot, they'll want you to say hyper-specific things, right? Like, hyper-specific. So if you say, like, yeah, Bragg basically ran on the promise of getting Trump. Show me those exact words! Show me the exact words, or admit you're a filthy fucking liar! Show me those words! Show me them, you fucking liar! You can't... Yes or no, did he say those exact words? Did he say them? Did he say the exact words? All caps, beating on the fuck... Did he say those exact words? Did he say them? Did he? Yes or no? Yes or no? Oh, okay. And then they'll say things like this. They'll say, Biden never criticized the vaccine. Biden never said if you take the vaccine you can't catch COVID. Yeah, he did. Here he is. Well, that's not what he meant. That's clearly not what he meant. Yes or no? Did he say it? Did he say? Can you imagine if we spurged out like that? Can you imagine? I just saw Destiny put on X that Trump said to inject bleach. Really? Can you show me the quote? Can you show me? Yes or no? Did he say that? Can you show me the exact quote? Can you show me? Yes or no? Or are you going to admit you're a liar? Oh, that's different. When they do it, it's different. Well, we intuit that that's what he was talking about. Oh, okay. Yes, the thrust of what Alvin Bragg was saying, in conjunction with how we know that case played out, was he was saying to a primary, hey, vote for me, I could get Donald Trump. And so I said, I have the best record of going against Trump. He was just talking about a case that his predecessor was already looking into. How come every time we interview or we see any sort of testimony from 99% of any people in investigative agencies like the FBI or other law enforcement, they say, we can't talk about an ongoing case. But Alvin Bragg, when there's this case that might be coming up, he's running on, well, I just want to throw this out there. No one gets Trump better than me. Legally, no one does better than me. Anyways, I'm not saying I'll go after Trump. I'm not saying that. That I'm not saying. Fuck you. Yeah, Pisco's game is he knows that he can't talk back against Destiny that much or he'll lose his audience unless he builds a brand for himself and then could branch off. That's true. Which, whatever. Hey, I like Pisco, so I don't give a shit. Do what you got to do, man. It's a tough economy out there, so whatever you got to do. That's fine by me. What really Pisco deserves is anytime he tries to be like, I got the receipts. What about this? Did you literally say this? This should literally be the answer. Every time Pisco says, but you said this in the past, to say, well, when I said X, what I really meant was the opposite of X. Because that's what Pisco does when he's cornered, as we saw with the Jamal Bowman situation. When Bowman said that he didn't intend for the alarm to go off, I don't think that's a lie, because I think he meant he did intend for the alarm to go off. Now, he could run and he could, look at the receipts and blah, 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 blah. It means nothing. But I wish him well. But yeah, so I don't know. That's all I know about looks like more coping and seething from Destiny. In fairness, I didn't watch the debate, so I don't know. Maybe Destiny's right this time. But how many times are you going to cry wolf? How many times are you going to, after debate, cope and seethe and rage quit and blacklist and say, it was all bad faith by my opponents? At some point, a casual viewer like me is going to be like, I think you protest too much. So, I don't know. Is AJW blacklisted as well? Is that where we're at? Who gives a shit? Life goes on. As far as Andrew Wilson's debate, all I saw was allegedly they couldn't agree on the topic. Andrew asked some topic right out of the gate, and his opponent refused to answer. And Andrew was like, then I guess the debate's not going to happen. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I like AJW's channel. I haven't seen him debate much, though. Hey, suspicious. Appreciate. Yeah, okay. Sure. Banned. He has the AJW blacklisted. What next? Pinkerton said he wants to debate Destiny. What next? Pinkerton debate Destiny, and Destiny be like, did you just Google search something blacklisted? That's a blacklist. You can't have people Google searching. I myself use Wikipedia and whatever my audience tells me to say. Blacklist, Piers Morgan, blacklist! Shit. It's good stuff. Does he actually have a list? That'd be cool. He should have it up like me for all the people that were on the arena with me. Destiny should hang a blacklist up. And then he'll go, I can't find any good conservatives to debate. No shit. Yeah, I know, EOD. No shit, you can't? Really? Who would have thought? So, that's the little stupid ass drama. Whooped Elder Drazi's ass. And then, right before that, I thought this was funny. This dude comes on and says he's a Destiny fan. He wants to talk to me. And then I basically get him to admit in short order that he wishes that Trump would have been killed. And that Joe Biden is calling for violence against Trump and his supporters. And then I put the post up on X, and I thought that hilariously one of the comments was like, I looked it up, and the last time this guy posted on Destiny's Discord was in January. You're a fucking liar, Rob. The guy says in the clip, I'm a Destiny fan. So I'm a liar for taking him at his word. And I would guess, this is just a hunch, my guess is 90% of a streamer's fans don't post on their Discord. I know that's hard to believe, but I bet it's true. So if I were to say, for example, hey, I'm a fan of Aircraft Sparky, and someone goes, I checked Aircraft Sparky's Discord and I've never seen Rob post on there. So what, I lied? Go fuck yourselves. I gotta stop swearing so much, by the way. People yell at me if I swear. I gotta pull back. I gotta pull back. It's not good form. And I need to, because I have a son now that's repeating things I say. And I used a curse word the other day and he repeated it. So I have to, it's one of those things. If you curse when you're having fun like this, you're more likely to do it. So pull them back in the swears. Yeah, EOD, you're not a fan of Sparky then. And I'm not a fan of EOD because I've never posted on his Discord if he has one. Column says he's a Crucible mod and hasn't posted to Discord in 6+ months. You're not a fan of the Crucible then? It's just stupid. It's just the stupidity. All right, now we're done with the drama. Let's talk politics now that we went 45 minutes talking about nothing. I mean, what is there to say? The DNC, I haven't saw a lot of it. But what a just a mess. We haven't really talked about the price controls of Kamala Harris, and now there's what are they doing today? I saw unrealized gains tax. Just a mess. Just an absolute socialist nightmare mess. Need I remind people that Kamala Harris is currently the VP? Here's some of the great government central control policies that they've had. They've spent huge amounts of money for, wasn't it like internet that they haven't produced any of, that they were broadband that they were going to do, that they haven't done anything. Huge amounts of money for EV charging stations, and they've built like 2? Can I refresh your memory who I lost to? No, there's not many. First time I debated Econoboy, I thought he did pretty good. I wouldn't say that I lost necessarily, but I wouldn't mind someone saying that they thought he won. I forget the name of the guy I debated religion one time that I thought that I didn't want to debate. I kept telling him I don't know much about religion. But Sparky thinks I lost to him the one time about Brittany Griner. On the weight loss competition. That wasn't a debate, yeah, but I did lose that. Geddy Lee, best bass player ever. What's up? But yeah, put those people in charge. Now they're going to build millions upon millions of houses, and they're going to... Andrew Wilson and me have had some tight debates. Do these people tell the truth about any... Now listen, I debated this economist. This is another debate that I thought... When I'm debating someone that claims to be an expert at something, it's not that it worries me, but I get excited because I'm expecting to debate someone who's going to know the literature better than me. Right? What's up, Hasbar? That's what I'm expecting. So Noah Smith, when I was debating him, he's an economist, and we're basically debating Trump versus Biden. And I tell him straight up in my opening statement, I want to talk about the economy. I assume that's what you want to talk about. Let's do it. That's what I thought this dude would talk about. And I said, you take it where you want. And he starts off with like Afghanistan. Veda, thanks for the super chat, $2. Did I call it on RFK to drop out and endorse Donald Trump? Yeah, great. Awesome. He goes to a bunch of places. Then economy, like when we have like 20 minutes left, 25 minutes left, he decides to finally get to the economy. I was not that impressed with that portion with the economy portion, but I was even less impressed with the rest that he had to say. It was another debate I walked away from confused. Was like, man, I really expected better. When I debated Econoboy in the Crucible about inflation, same thing. First time I talked to Econoboy, it wasn't with a moderator. It was just me and him for like 4 hours talking economics. I thought he did much better. The inflation debate I had, like right out of the gate, I'm like, I blame lockdowns. And Econoboy's like, yeah. And Andrew's like, well, we're on YouTube. We can't really talk about COVID or lockdowns. That's it. I planned on debating for 2 hours to get that concession. Literally happened in the first 15 seconds. I was like, okay. So then we spent the next 2 hours talking about the velocity of money and my theory that massive money printing causes inflation and his that it doesn't. You sure about that? Sure about that? But anyways, in that Noah Smith debate, one of the things I was alluding to with the economic numbers is I don't trust any of them. I don't. Sparky, $5 super chat, thanks so much, says experts are always going to be a mixed bag. They tend to underestimate their opponents and don't prepare. Totally true. I don't trust any of them anymore. I don't trust them when they talk about climate change. I don't trust them when they talk about COVID numbers. I don't trust them when they talk about job numbers. I don't trust them when they talk about inflation numbers. None of it. I don't trust them at all. That doesn't mean that they're always lying. I just no longer trust them. And why would I? Over and over and over again, we could see that they are saying things that end up needing to be corrected that are skewing one direction. It's always the same direction. Why would I believe them? Why would I believe the people that told me for years not to believe my lying eyes when I saw Joe Biden's cognitive decline? Nope, nothing there. Nothing there at all. Washington Post came out with a story today that was like, oh, it turns out that people in Biden's inner circle for years knew of his decline and was hiding it from everyone. The same Washington Post that 3 months ago was putting fact checkers out giving 3 and 4 Pinocchios when people were pointing to videos of Biden stumbling, bumbling. How is it that I, an average Joe Schmo, and most of you people who are probably also just average people, we don't have press credentials, we don't have inside tracks to people surrounding Biden. How are we able to call his cognitive decline? We saw it. So how did all these people with the connections miss it? How'd they miss it? When I saw the scientific experts say, COVID's bad, but you know what's worse? Racism. And trust us, you can get COVID. If you go to Sturgis, you can contract and spread COVID. If you go to the Trump rally, you can contract and spread COVID. But if you go to the Black Lives Matter rally, nope. Contact tracing says it's not spreading there. Let's take a brief break while I get a drink here, and let's watch a video so you can get my feelings on this. Maybe if you're new to the channel, you've never seen this. This is one of my favorite videos I ever did because it's a good friend of mine edited it for me. Edited it. Yeah, you get it. Maybe if I find it. You know, isn't it a shame how awesome I am? And then you look at my YouTube. Like, this is just on popularity. Look at this. I'm so awesome. And I get almost no... I got a gold mine of old content. Look at these. All right, 11,000 is my highest. 5,000. Some of these recent ones. Talking about Destiny, yeah, okay. Andrew Wilson. And other than that, 2,000. Not a lot. Anyways, I'm looking for one video in particular. Boop, boop, boop. There we are. There we are. Look at this fat bastard. Let's take 10 minutes out of our life to watch old Chunk here. Old Chunky. Man, I probably weighed 50 more pounds when I did this video. This was at the height of COVID, or right at the beginning of COVID there. May, or I think this was June 2020. June 2020 is when this was. Let's watch this fat bastard. Ready? I'm more handsome now. We can agree with that. Here we go.
I've had it of being told.
Start over.
I've had it. I've had it of being called a racist. I've had it of being told that I'm somehow inferior, that I'm less educated, that I'm somehow a 10-toothed rube, like Rick Wilson said on CNN, that I'm a racist if I disagree with the disastrous positions of Black Lives Matter that would be bad not only for all Americans, but particularly for Black Americans. I'm tired of saying if I don't believe corporate-led revolutions that somehow that makes me an immoral person. I'm tired of people saying that I have to cower down and shut my mouth or I'll lose my job if I don't kowtow to this mob. I'm tired of having to say, yeah, I hear you. Maybe there's a case for tearing down Confederate statues. I don't care. I don't have any love for Confederate statues. I don't care. But I'm not going to give in to the mob. I'm tired of it. It's worth fighting for its own sake. We're not going to listen to a bunch of people that hate this country and want to overthrow it and return us to segregation and want to make us a globalist, fascist, Marxist society. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of trying to calmly explain to people things like why toddlers shouldn't be able to vote and why you shouldn't be allowed to take people's property and we should have property rights. I'm tired of explaining to people why the police should arrest people that steal from stores, why they should arrest people that are skipping out on subway tolls. These are all conversations I've had this week. I'm tired. The people among us that know the least are the most arrogant and most confident that they know more than everyone else. I'm sick and tired of it. They don't live in the real world. They don't have real jobs. I had someone tell me about COVID. I said, how long do we have to get locked down in your world? They said, I live in Australia. The government just pays us. We could stay locked down indefinitely. I have to explain to you that if no one's working, let's just make it real simple. If no one's working on the farms, how's the government going to send you food? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being attacked. I'm tired of having been crushed in the culture war. I'm tired of Republican leaders that claim that they're defending us that aren't doing squat. I'm tired of on my radio show when I bring Republicans on, they say, yeah, we got to get back in the fight. And all they're doing is proposing legislation and filing court cases that they eventually lose. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people getting in touch with me saying that they're going to contact my employer and get me fired because I had the temerity to argue against Black Lives Matter. I'm sick and tired of having to pretend, oh, it's a noble thing. What they're doing out there is noble. It's not. They're terrorists. Does that mean everyone involved with them is? No. But if you're aligned with terrorists and you're marching with terrorists, then you're hurting this country. And I'm tired of pretending it's not the case. We have a nerve. We have backbones on here. Where's our leaders? I go in a panel, people say, can we just agree? I'm a conservative, but can we just agree if Trump would just wear a mask, then COVID would be solved? Really? So it's just about masks now. So we didn't need to lock down. Well, no, you still need the lockdown, but let's be honest, it's Republicans. Really? It wasn't Democrats and their experts that said it was okay to go out by the hundreds of thousands and protest for Black Lives Matter, shoulder to shoulder, while they're burning down buildings. Well, all the scientists say that those contact tracers proved that the Black Lives Matter protests didn't spread the virus. Fuck you! I'm tired of the... Ugh. Your experts are full of it, if that's what they're claiming. These two things can't be true. That if you're shoulder to shoulder and if you're in large crowds, you spread COVID, but not if you're protesting for Black Lives Matter. Either they were wrong originally or they're wrong now. And I'm tired of being treated because they have the experts. The experts say this. Then I'm done with the experts. I don't care. The same experts, 5,000 of them that signed on, that said science, technology, engineering, and math is racist. The same experts that are endorsing Black Lives Matter, that's against the values of the Enlightenment and doesn't believe there's a thing such as truth, that's been attacking all of our hard sciences and arts, those experts? I'm tired of it. And we have to pretend. Oh, no. Here's a paper I have from the experts. These great experts that did this study say that, Black Lives Matter couldn't have spread this disease. Thousands of Bush officials have signed on to elect Joe Biden. Thousands of former Intel officials have signed on that Trump's needs to be impeached over the Ukraine. They didn't care about Biden's quid pro quo that Trump was trying to investigate. They don't care that the president of Ukraine's top prosecutor has came public with evidence that Biden committed extortion with U.S. tax dollars, including audio from Joe Biden himself, including financial transactions. They don't care. The experts didn't care about that. But all Trump investigating it. The same experts that told us the FBI didn't do anything wrong in the Russia investigation. Only they did. It's war. That's what it is. I'm not advocating violence. Breitbart was a prophet. He saw this in 2008. Listen to him. You know what Breitbart's background was? He said, here's how I got into it. I lived in LA. I was a socialite. I went to all the cocktail and pool parties where everyone laughed at flyover country. But then he visited flyover country, and he realized how arrogant and horrible and wrong all of these institutions were. We're talking about institutional and systemic bigotry and racism? Name me one institution that sticks up for rural America, for flyover country. Give me one. We're just told how privileged we are if we have a certain skin color. And God forbid you be a person of color from flyover country or a conservative person of color. You'll get attacked even harder. Look, I love Breitbart and he's an inspiration to me. But I don't need someone to come in and fight for me anymore. I'm going to fight for myself. I don't care what it costs. I'm sick and tired of the deck being stacked against people like us, normal Americans, being stacked against us, and us having to constantly grovel or be silent out of fear or wait for some leader to come along. There is no leader coming along. It's up to us. I'm sick and tired of the lies and the misdirection and the sophistry and the excuses and the hypocrisy. I showed you that video the other day. Black Lives Matter protesters start beating this man. What's the first thing the crowd starts yelling? Don't record it, don't record it, don't record it. They're liars. They don't want it recorded because they don't want it to be shown the thug terrorists that they are. But I have to believe 99% of these protesters are peaceful. So they sit around and watch innocents get beat and watch stores get burned? Oh, but it's all the police officers' fault. All of the violence was because tear gas was shot. It's garbage and you know it. And I'm tired of engaging on that level and pretending that these people are arguing in good faith. They're not. And if they are arguing in good faith, they're so ignorant that it makes worthwhile dialogue almost impossible. I'll keep plugging away. I'll keep doing these debates. I'll keep being polite. I'll keep keeping an open mind. But I know what they're doing. I know. And make no mistake about it, they're winning. They are winning. They've won the culture war. They control academia. They control the media. They control Silicon Valley. They control the entertainment industry. They control corporate America. All of it. Go order a McDonald's cheeseburger. Let me know what their motto is now. Turn on Amazon. Get some Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Go to Chase Bank. Any corporation. Nike. All buying into the Marxist terrorists trying to overthrow this country. All the great people in my family, in my life, in my community, all they want to do is go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and provide for their families. And they're treated like shit over and over and over. And I'm sick of it. That's what keeps me going, them. We have a Marxist fascist revolution. Why isn't it directed at the people in charge? If you think that there's systemic racism, why aren't you directing your protest and your riots at the people that control the systems? Instead, you're rioting in inner city communities, burning down black communities, and directing your anger at normal Americans. And making it somehow racial, as if all white people are responsible or white people have original sin. Can't you see this is exactly what the establishment wants? Because their biggest fear is that people, regardless of skin color, will come together and say, this establishment has screwed us over for 60 years. But you can't bring that up or you're called a racist.
Now, that fat guy knew what he was talking about, man. Woo! Wish he was still streaming. That was that's before I had my son. I'm trying to calm down a little now. I was right, though. The reason I brought that up, the reason I thought of that was the idea that trust the experts. Trust the experts. I knew back then. That was a deal breaker for me. That was it. When I saw the scientific community, I already was healthily distrusting experts. But when you just saw the blatantness, yeah, you can get COVID if you go to the Trump rally, but not if you go to the Black Lives Matter rally. That was it, man. I tuned out. I'll still argue the data. I will, but I don't trust it. I don't trust the job numbers. I don't trust the FBI crime statistics. I don't trust the immigration numbers. None of them. Again, that's not to say that they're all wrong. They may be truthful. Let's say you have a brother, and your brother lies to you all the time. Everything he says is bullshit, or you catch him all the time. Does that mean that if he tells you the next day, hey, did you see the Steelers won? Does that mean, that means the Steelers didn't win? No, they may have won. That just means you say, I'm not going to take your word for it. I'll look it up myself. So the same people, the same economists that were telling us that we weren't in a recession, it was one of the strongest economies ever, there was nothing mentally wrong with Joe Biden, Trump would be a disaster, the stock market would crash in 2016 if Trump got elected, then it didn't. The massive money printing and shit and the lockdowns were necessary, and then it was terrible. But I had to trust those same people and their data that was coming out saying, inflation's not as bad. We're not in a recession, inflation's not as bad, it's over. Job numbers are killing it. And then what you would see is like every 2 or 3 months, I think of the last 12 months, 10 of the months, I could be wrong about the specifics on this, they revised the numbers downwards months later. So let's say they come out and they say, job numbers beat expectations this month, 250,000 jobs expected, and actually we came in at 300,000. They beat expectations by 50,000 jobs. Wow. Great news cycle for Biden and the Democrats. And then 3 months later, they're like, and we're revising those numbers down 80,000. Oh, so then it didn't beat expectations. It came in below expectations. That was occurring all the time. Then on top of those already diminished numbers that we found out months later, now they're like, and by the way, we overestimated, in addition to that, 800,000 jobs. Almost 1 million jobs. But don't worry, government sector jobs are still up. It was just the private sector jobs that they overestimated. Oh boy, I can't wait for a future where everybody only works for the government. Doesn't that sound wonderful? But don't call them communist. Don't use that word. Price controls, massive expanding government. But it's not communism. It's not socialism. So now the job numbers come out. See the reason. So I'm no expert in this, but this is what's sort of going on. Inflation's really bad throughout the Biden administration, right? But they want to raise rates to stop the inflation. The Fed wants to raise rates to stop the inflation. And they say the economy's doing good, so we could raise rates. See all the job numbers? Now they need an excuse to lower rates. So they come out and say, actually, the job numbers were bullshit. Now they're lower rates, which will be good for Wall Street, but it'll bring inflation back up, which will hurt you, me, average people, middle class, working class people. It's all bullshit. If Trump wins, though, which I don't expect, but if he does, then all of a sudden the economic data will be like, it's all fucking miserable, it's shit. I'm not supposed to be swearing. Stop swearing. Yep, unrealized tax gains, insane. Yep, Kamala wants. Price controls. Thanks, Jabroni, I appreciate it. Why is it, If we're told price controls are the problem, see, it's not inflation, it's not the massive money printing or the lockdowns or the disastrous policies of the Harris-Biden administration. No, it's because all of a sudden, corporations got greedy under Harris-Biden. They weren't greedy under Trump. They weren't greedy under Bush. But for some reason with Harris and Biden, it's all those evil corporations' fault. Of course, when you look at grocery store chains, turns out that their profit margins haven't got much better during the Harris-Biden administration. But who gives a shit? Price controls for them, baby. Because they've worked so many times in the past. I'm sure it'll be different this time, right? The buck stops here, so says Biden. Biden doesn't even know what the buck is. Now, when academia is almost solely on the side of the institutions and paying lip service to the causes of the left, you know how hard it is to do debates? For example, let's do an immigration debate. Well, the Cato Institute says, and this academic research paper says, and this paper says, and they're all like, immigration's always good, and illegal immigration's good. And illegal immigrants are better than Native Americans because they commit less crime, and they bring culture, and they actually help the economy. That's what all the studies say. See? The studies. Let's go to the experts. Let's see what the scientists say. Then you see how it plays out in the real world. Okay. In the real world, if that's true, how come every time we send these illegal immigrants to democratic places with huge amounts of resources like Martha's Vineyard, they can't handle it? Why are they freaking out in Chicago? Why are they freaking out in New York? Wouldn't it be the more illegals we send, the better it would be? Why don't the economists go talk to those people? Why don't the academics say, oh, no, you're mistaken, person who's lived in this town for 40 years? These people are enriching your town. Can't you see it? Victor David Hanson has this quote. I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like this. It's a wonderful quote. He says, Democrats always prescribe to you a utopia they'll never have the misfortune of living in. So you can see Michelle Obama go on stage at the DNC and talk about generational wealth. How these out-of-touch rich people live. And they're not like that. And the United States doesn't have the right to say who's American or not. We don't have the right to protect our borders, says Michelle Obama, who lives in a gated community. It's real easy to say Americans shouldn't have guns, Americans shouldn't worry about who's coming into their communities and stuff, when you have armed security in gated neighborhoods. Real easy. Oh yeah, the UK's loving their immigration now. But just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. It's all good. All the studies say it's good. Oh, and they also say climate change is going to kill us all by 2020. I mean 2025. I mean 2030. I mean 2040. And whatever. I went to this Pentecostal church growing up where they speak in tongues and stuff. It was kind of crazy. And I remember there were people in that community, not at my church, but there were people in that community that would like predict revelations. They'd be like, you know, March 17th. I've seen a vision. March 17th, 1999. That's it. That's when the rapture will happen and hell on earth will begin and the noble souls will be taken to heaven. And then that date comes and they go, I got it wrong. I got it wrong. Actually, it's going to be 3 years later. It's going to be March 17th, 2002. And then that date comes, they're like, got that one wrong. I just misinterpreted something. Actually, what point do we call bullshit in the climate change people? But Al Gore had those hockey stick graphs, right? Why is the plans always that the poor and working class pays more? Why is that always the plan? Every one of these policies result in working stiffs getting screwed over more. Why is that? That's the way it was with COVID. Sorry, you got to tighten your bootstraps, man. Joe Schmo worker, Joe Schmo small business owner. Sorry, dude, you're going to pay the brunt of this. Don't worry, though. The wealthiest Americans are going to be enriched. And the people that are scamming the COVID relief funds, they're going to get enriched. But you that just wants to go to work and provide a service and have your own business, sorry, dude, it's on your back. Oh, and guess what? When we have to send more money to Ukraine, sorry, that's going to be on your back, too. You got to sacrifice there, too. We don't have time to worry about your economic woes. You gotta tighten your bootstraps a little more, man. Sorry. Oh, inflation still getting you down? Hey, man, tighten those bootstraps. You remember there are articles that was like, there's no inflation. And then it was a little bit of inflation's a good thing. And then it was like, well, Americans are too greedy anyways. They need to learn to live with less. Not them, though. Just like the people that were telling you that you had to be locked down, like Gavin Newsom, was heading to the French Laundry for fancy dinners. The rules don't apply to them. You see, you're the serf, and they're the lords. It's just feudalism, baby. That's all it is. Neo-feudalism. And the biggest impediment to it are people in the middle class in the Western world. But don't worry, they're doing their best to wipe them out. One open border at a time. One inflationary policy at a time. Veda, thanks so much. $2 super chat. Destiny the Millionaire got a PPP loan. Yeah, I didn't get shit for PPP. That's right, intro break. You are the carbon they wish to reduce. Exactly. What's the explanation for why there are almost 1 million jobs off? The worst revision we've seen in 15 years. What's the explanation? How do you screw up that bad? I haven't even seen. What's their attempted explanation? See, that's the other part. We don't even have a media that gives a shit. They're propagandists. They're not going to cover this. And unfortunately, people like me, I don't have access to force any answers. I'm not going to get Janet Yellen on the phone. Or whoever's at the labor statistics. And despite the fact that trust in the legacy media is at near record lows, they still shape the narrative. We talk about what they're talking about. J.D. Vance is weird. Kamala Harris is filled with joy. She's probably going to win the election off the strength of the propaganda pushing her across the finish line. Is she talented? Is she set down for interview? What are her policy positions? The only positions she articulates are universally panned, almost universally. Price controls? Unrealized gains tax? These are popular policies. Here's the thing. I learned this a long time ago. I used to work at a Goodwill when I was in college. I worked at a Goodwill donation center. Literally the most worthless job I've ever had. Now, let me say a few good words about the company of Goodwill. The idea of accepting donations to provide employment opportunities, particularly for people with developmental disabilities, I think is fantastic. And it did provide, for a lot of people I've worked with in my new line of work, it actually provided a lot of opportunities. So I have no problems with the corporation of Goodwill, the company of Goodwill. For those that don't know, it's sort of like the Salvation Army. People, they rely on donations, people donating toys or entertainment items or clothing, and then they take those, clean them, and then sell them, and then use those profits to pay for the, I assume everyone knows what Goodwill is, though. Maybe not if you're not in the United States. So I worked at a donation center. The reason my job was worthless was I'm basically not allowed to look at anything. So if you bring a bag in, I'm not allowed to open the bag, right? Now, there were certain items we weren't allowed to take, but there's also booths, or there's bins there. So, like, I clock out at 8 o'clock. If I tell you, like, hey, man, we're not allowed to take baby cribs, they'd say, okay, because there were recalls and what have on them. Then I'd leave at 8 and you come in the next morning and there's that same baby crib you just turned down. They just wait until you're not there and then drop it off anyways. So, but the one reason I had to be there was tax. Weirdest thing I ever saw donated was bags of leaves that I had to turn down. Someone brought their garbage bags filled with leaves, and I was like, how does this work? Do you think we're going to sell dirty leaves? And the lady was like, but people use these for decorations. And I was like, right, they're free everywhere. No one's buying garbage bags full of dirty leaves. That was this woman was furious at me. Absolutely furious that I wouldn't take these leaves. What am I supposed to do with them? I'm like, burn them like everyone else? Anyways. One of the things we did was you could sign receipts for people that drop off donations that they could then write against their taxes. You could donate up to $5,000 to Goodwill of merchandise that you could use as a charitable contribution to write off on your taxes. So the way it would work would be, how do you value something? Right? I'm not like on Antiques Roadshow. Someone comes in with an old coffee table and I'm like, yeah, circa 1933, that's a $4,000 piece there. I don't know. And I'm not allowed to say. So we could give recommendations. I could be like, bag of clothes, $125, $100. But I wasn't allowed to make a valuation. And I'm not even allowed to open a bag. And so people would just value it what they wanted. And then they would fill it out and then I would sign the receipt. Then they take that to whoever does their taxes. Here, $5,000 donation. If they get audited, there it is. There's the proof. So people would bring like 3 big black garbage bags full of clothes and be like, suits, $5,000. 3 garbage bags full of clothes. Yep, that's real expensive stuff. I'm not even allowed to open the bag. And even if I could, I mean, unless it's just like t-shirts and gym shorts, if there's dress shirts in there and they say, oh, that's a $500 shirt, I just have to take their word. So this happened all the time. I'd have to sign these receipts, and it was always like the maximum. Not always, but a lot of times, $5,000. And what I quickly realized, because it's a small town, right? You know who did this? You know the type of, I'm not going to mention any specific names, but you know the type of people that I came to realize? Take a guess. Who do you think the type of person was that was putting these huge numbers on for their tax donations? Let me just make it real simple. Do you think it was the middle class people around here? You think it was the poor people? That's right, Rich Bull. It was the people that had money in this town. It was the wealthy. Now, when I say wealthy around here, this ain't like Elon Musk, right? Wealthy around here is probably not like wealthy from where you're from if you're in a city. But still, it's the people you knew that owned the local shops that were doing well. Not the people that owned the haircut salon, but it was like the people that owned apartments that they were renting to everyone. You know, half of town, or they owned a bunch of land. It's like they knew how to play the game. They knew. Your average Joe Schmo had no clue. Your average person that's just coming in like, hey, I had a toddler, they grew out of these clothes, here you go. And you'd be like, hey, you could write that off. Most of those people were taking the standardized deduction anyways. Yeah, I don't begrudge those people for playing the game either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying those who know. And most of us don't know. Well, my wife worked at a bank during COVID. It was the same with the PPP loans. She was shocked at how little people knew. There were people coming in desperate, pulling out of their savings accounts because they're trying to desperately, like you own a haircut place and you're not allowed to stay open, but your employees are screwed. So you still are trying to pay them, but you don't know what to do. So you're taking money out of your personal savings. And my wife's like, everybody that was good to go and had big chunks of money, they were coming in getting those loans. But the people that really needed it, they had no clue. They didn't even know where to begin. They just would be like, I heard about this? What is that? And it was very sobering to see that. It was like, oh, some of those loans went very necessary places. Some of them went to people that really didn't need the loan because they were financially well-to-do anyways. And some of them just went straight up people that were scamming. Oh, I created a corporation with my brother. We detail cars. So $75,000, please, or whatever the amounts were. Amazing. I forget what it is. Isn't it up to like tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that they say were fraudulently given away in those PPP loans? How can a country exist like this with that much money just fraudulently taken? And it's policy after policy that this happens. Just here to spread the word real quick. Rob is gay. Got me. My beard wife. Yeah, lawn care service, right. What time is it? 9:43. We got some lefty. Sam Spade, you want to call in and talk about how I'm gay? Roll away. Any lefty you want to call in? Oh. Always fun to wreck. Last time, as long as you could avoid, calling for actual crimes or anything like the last call-in we took. Let's see some other. Speaking of Elder Drazi, here's an oldie but a goodie, right?
Don't want to.
The Progressive Victory panel. Let's watch some of this. This will be fun. Yay! So I did this panel with Whick TV. Yeah, I think there's some truth to Trump losing evangelical base. He already has to some extent. The question is how much. But I certainly know a couple very devout Catholics that won't vote for him. So for those that don't know, Whick TV works for this Progressive Victory PAC. It's a left-wing PAC that pays people. Brianna Wu helped get people involved in this. So I did a panel where it was basically me and Progressive Victory PAC. Brianna Wu, I don't even know why they agree to talk to me anymore. They just get wrecked every time. But decided to come into this debate with the whole panel stacked against me and get absolutely wrecked, even with the moderator jumping in. So kudos to my moderator, Black Elk, for putting this edit together of some of the best Brianna Wu clips here. It's 12 minutes of excellent Brianna Wu clips here.
Go into it all day. This
Brianna,
is
I don't understand your position. I'll just say this. I'll just say this quickly. It seems like you're trying to perpetuate your status as a victim. I sort of you have to be careful, right? Because we're talking about more than just governmental institutions. For example, the mainstream media. Should someone in the media go to jail if they lie? No, right? Let's be honest. And the same is true of people in government. If there are mistruths that are spoken, that doesn't necessarily mean you go to jail. Now, there are certain things that we would say potentially. So Econoboy brings up Fauci. If Fauci lied under oath, which it appears he did, about whether his institution was funding gain of function in a Wuhan lab, then absolutely that is something that he should be punished for legally. But if he just lied, and speaking of why we don't trust institutions
Playing Mario
like Dr. Fauci
2.
and the medical institutions, this is something. Please raise your hand if you disagree with this. Here's something we can all agree. Fauci came out initially and said, don't worry about getting masks. Don't worry about it. They won't help you, right? And then this guy in the bottom left's Parallax, I believe is his name. This is Whick, the moderator in the bottom right. Up top here's Elder Drazi, who just got wrecked by me in a COVID debate. That's Econoboy above me. That's Brianna playing Mario 2 instead of paying attention.
And like 4 weeks later, he's like, never mind, we had to lie to you because we were afraid you were all going to go out and buy masks. But we knew all along they helped you. Now, that's a noble lie. He shouldn't be prosecuted for that. But he will term that as a noble lie. He'll say, I lied for good reason. But the problem is that lie creates real distrust. Because if he lied to you there, when he's telling you that you can't go to work and you're losing your home and you're losing your small business because of it, is he lying to you again? Because he thinks the greater good means that you have to be lied to? And so that lie necessarily, I don't think would be one that he should be prosecuted. But the lie of lying about gain of function under oath, that's one that potentially could be prosecuted. Or people on his team, it seems evident from their emails, they were intentionally subverting Freedom of Information Act request and the way that they were communicating. That's something that could be criminally punished. But not everything that is a lie from the government is something that would be criminally punished. Now, I think it's ironic.
Just when the left does it, right? When the right does it, it's noble and great and awesome. But
well,
when
it's
the
funny.
left does it,
It's funny you would bring that up because I'm going to make the exact counterintuitive point. Actually, I've been quite consistent for things like mishandling of classified information, FARA violations, etc., because they're so prolific in our country and they're almost never charged. I didn't think that people like Biden or Hillary, etc., should have been charged. Neither did I think Trump should be charged. I think it's hilarious, though, to hear Brianna say it's dangerous to charge politicians when we see everyone and their mothers trying to charge Donald Trump, even running on promises of getting Donald Trump, making new legal theories, resulting in things like banks that were happy with him and there were no victims. He has to pay $500 million in fines, and alleged FEC violations that the FEC said weren't violations or didn't charge him for, a novel legal theory that's never been used on anyone, let alone a former president of the United States or frontrunner. They're going to use it to charge him with 39 felonies. Oh, by the way, did you see today that a court just overruled that actually Hillary for America and one of their super PACs actually violated the very same FEC law in claiming that there was using an internet exemption when they were spending their PAC money and falsified records saying that it wasn't campaign expenses, but it was other things. The very thing that Trump was accused of, yet they're not going to be charged.
This speaks to distrust in institutions.
But hold on, Whick. If Rob is going to attack me and mischaracterize me, I need to just ask the right to.
So do you think she even heard what I said as she was playing Mario 2 the whole time there? But she's going to talk about my mischaracterization, right? Now, Whick, the guy that was jumping in there, he's supposed to be the moderator, right? You can see that already he's jumping in to save this shit show of a panel. But here we go. Okay, Brianna, lay it on us.
To respond to it. And I don't want this to be the show today. I have no interest in doing this with you, Rob. I'm recovering from surgery. I don't want to get in a fight with you, but I'm not just going to sit here if you're going to do this, okay? What I said, and everyone can go look at the tape there, is I said for extreme cases of wrongdoing for a politician, I used Rod Blagojevich in Chicago as an example. I think it does make sense in that case. In my view, Donald Trump does rise to that level, and that's what I said. So
okay, but just to be clear,
I don't want to go into it all day. This
Brianna, is I don't understand your position. I'll just say this quickly. It seems like you're trying to perpetuate your status as a victim. This is sort of what these panels are about, is getting into issues and going back and forth. And from the get-go, it seems like you're very reticent to talk specifics with
me. It is a fire hose of bullshit, Rob. You just spew bullshit and they can't have a conversation.
Okay. So go ahead and interrupt. I understand why you'd be reticent to want to get into specifics with me because I think you'll know the outcome. So I think my interpretation of what you said there is very accurate. You tell me if I'm wrong about this. I'm trying to steelman you. You said, of course, there are extreme examples when politicians should be held legally accountable. However,
we must disagree with that, Rob.
Let me finish. However, we must be very careful because it does set a dangerous precedent charging elected officials. Is that a steelman of what you said?
Whatever, Dan.
I'll step in. Yes, I think that is a steel man. However, right? I think that do you disagree that there are things an elected politician could do that rise to a certain level that despite that there are some dangers to this, that we should prosecute them anyway? Do you disagree with that?
No,
in
Whick.
A vacuum.
Okay, no, Whick.
Okay, so what's the argument?
Here's the argument. The argument was that there were 2 points being made. Of course, there are times when things are so serious that they need to be prosecuted. However, in general, we should be reticent to want to prosecute lesser crimes because it sets a bad precedent. So then the point I directly make in response to that is, look at some of these cases against Donald Trump.
For example, the FEC violation, where no person in history has been charged under this legal theory that Bragg went after Trump for. When we know, in fact, that Hillary's team actually violated the FEC code. Twice they've been found in violation of it, which means that because they were based out of New York, they falsified business records in New York, which was to infect the election, and they did so by violating FEC laws. That's literally the same law that Trump broke. And yeah, in New York, they decided not to go after them for felonies. Instead, they paid a fine. So what I'm saying, let me finish real quick, Whick, right? So what I'm saying is, when Brianna's admitting that unless it's a very serious crime, we shouldn't go after politicians, I agree. That's been my stance the entire time. It just so happens that even when we're coming up with novel theories going after Trump for anything, the E. John Carroll, where they changed the law in New York to go after Trump in that case, the case in Letitia James, where the banks were happy, but we're still going to go after a former president for $500 million. All of these are cases you could argue, okay, the classified document case, the electors case, but we're talking about cases where people basically ran on getting Trump that are nothing cases. And Brianna seemed to say that we shouldn't be prosecuting those sorts of cases.
No one here.
I've got a question for Whick.
I'll let you go in a second, but I just, because this touches actually, surprisingly, gang, and
Close.
It touches on the topic at hand of trust. I can't trust anything you just said, Rob, because, and not just because of you. It's not. I don't want to mean this. This isn't a personal attack.
This is a moderator, by the way, right? So the 4-on-1's not going good for them here. So now the moderator's debating me. Brianna's decided to play Mario. Now you see the point that they're making here. The point that Brianna made was, you don't get the full context. It's a 2-hour debate, but she's like, because one person, I think it was Elder Drazi, was like, we need to start throwing politicians in jail for lying. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. There are certain lies that certainly could be prosecutable, like if you lie under oath, certain things. But if a politician says, read my lips, no new taxes, and then they institute taxes, I don't think they should go to jail. That's sort of different. They should be punished electorally. They should be punished and shamed, and that's all different. But is that a crime? And Brianna says, like, well, we have to be careful. We don't want to set a precedent where we're going after our political opponents for crimes that aren't a big deal. Certainly there are crimes like that with Rod Blagojevich, more serious alleged crimes that politicians should face the music for. But in general, we should be hesitant. And my point directly answering that is like, I sort of agree with that. That's my position as well. And I think the targeting of Donald Trump has been detrimental to that same precedent. It has opened the floodgates to, well, you could use lawfare to go after your political opponent because these weren't serious crimes. That's my point. And I go into it in quite detail. For example, the Alvin Bragg case. Alvin Bragg's case, if I remember this, that was a legal theory that had literally never been used. So you would expect when going after a former president and the frontrunner for president of the next election, that if you have to charge them with a crime, it would be, one, a very serious crime, and second, it would be open and shut, something that's been prosecuted many times before. Instead, it is tantamount to an FEC violation, which happens a lot and people just get fines for. But Trump's looking at 20 years in prison or something like that is a potential, I forget the exact, but a lot of years in potential jail and prison time, significant, for a crime that everyone else just gets fines for. And it was using a legal theory that's never been done before, which said that he falsified business records to affect an election with an underlying crime of tax evasion, where he actually ended up paying more taxes than he otherwise would have. Something with falsifying other records that had to do with business, or FEC violations, which the FEC declined to prosecute him for the FEC violation. And I was like, that shows the flippancy of just they're doing this to target Trump. That's what they're doing. And the fact that Alvin Bragg knows that the FEC already weighed in at the time he brings this case against Trump, they already weighed in that Hillary's team, also stationed in New York, falsified business records to commit an FEC violation to affect the 2016 election. Same election, same crime, except the FEC already said, yeah, she did it. And Alvin Bragg declined prosecution. Didn't even look. That's the point I'm making. And Whick's just like, I can't believe anything you're saying. The moderator. Brianna, still playing Mario.
Against you specifically. I want to make that clear. But there have been partisans on all sides who will just say things. And we can't, I have no time to fact check any of that right now. I just can't, right? I'm trying to manage you all, have this conversation, all these things. So I can't believe you. Just take your word, unfortunately, for this. And so what you said could have been completely accurate for all I know, but it also could be total bullshit. Now, that doesn't to say that you don't believe it's true, right? I'm not calling you a liar in this instance, just to be clear, right? But we have so many different sources of information, and no one can trust any of them. And that's the situation we find on ourselves. One of the downsides of the institutions having degraded throughout America, and I will say this, that there is good reason not to trust any of these institutions. They have failed us. And one of the unfortunate downsides of that is it decreases trust overall, so no one can trust what is true, what is not, and we are all we're choosing our own adventure, gang, on what facts we believe, what sources we believe, and we have no more kind of epistemological foundation. But Parallax, you wanted to go in? I'll
Rob,
let you
did
go
I
in.
did I hear you correctly when you did you say that as it pertains to like prosecuting politicians, you by and large agreed with Brianna, but you're pointing out the hypocrisy that when it came to Trump, the left turned on that?
Yes, I think that overarchingly that we should be reticent for particularly small level crimes to prosecute politicians.
So then you were wholly against Trump running on the same campaign promise you just lambasted as it pertains to Hillary Clinton?
I thought that Trump running on lock her up for Hillary Clinton was a really stupid thing to do. I didn't think it was necessarily corrupt because we already saw that the FBI was looking into it. It seems that the Democratic standard is the things Trump said that never came to fruition are things that we all need to be scared shitless of and are corrupt. But then when we see the Department of Justice weaponized to go after Trump and prosecutors basically running on the promise of going after Trump, getting elected, and then going after Trump, Democrats are remarkably silent about it. So yes, I did argue at the time, and I argued against the prosecution of Hillary Clinton for a classified server. The only crime that I thought should have been charged in that whole debacle was when Hillary's team intentionally destroyed subpoenaed evidence. That doesn't mean Hillary did it, but someone on her team the guy's name was Paul Combetta, that knowingly destroyed subpoenaed evidence, that seems to be a crime serious enough that there should be some sort of charge. However, in the only time we know that in any of these investigations where subpoenaed evidence was literally destroyed and was unrecoverable, for some reason the FBI determined in that case to not charge and instead give immunity to everyone. When they went after Trump's team, they decided to do the exact opposite and charge anyone connected to him with any crime, even if it was unrelated to the underlying investigation.
So just two small things I'll touch on, and someone else can go ahead and pick up the ball. I think it is worth noting that anytime it seems like we want to look at the other side, you've got a great justification for Trump. You know, it wasn't necessarily corrupt. You just didn't like it, but it's corrupt when the left does it. I also think it's worth noting that Brianna made a valid point, the fire hose of bullshit, and that is how you just replied. You know, you didn't actually reply directly. You just gave me a whole bunch of extra bullshit about Hillary. I didn't reply directly. I think it's very specifically detrimental to the conversation at times, and I think that it is taking us away from the topic at hand.
Yes.
The exact opposite is true, actually. Almost always when I'm asked a question, I reply almost specifically with a yes, no, and then I will expound. Whereas the people like you'll say that I'm lying or I'm spreading misinformation when I accurately represented the Afghan pullout of Joe Biden, and you say, well, the reason is because, for example, can I say that you spread misinformation on Afghanistan if I show that Obama wound down the number of troops in his 8 years in office? Would that mean that now you're spreading misinformation because you didn't accurately say how many troops Obama pulled out?
No, one of them is the specific final pullout plan that was know what you're doing right now. One of them is the specific plan for the pullout that Donald Trump started and Joe Biden finished. They are not the same plan that you can tie back to
everyone
Obama.
could see what happened. Everyone could see it was Biden that pulled out of Beckham. They absolutely that is absolutely true. It is that they could roll the tape. They could see that there were troops left there. That Joe Biden removed those troops. He closed down Bagram Air Base, which directly led to ISIS. It's not a fire. Then pick one. Okay, if it's a fire hose, then here's what I'll do. Then I've given you a lot of targets to say where I'm inaccurate. So pick one of those things that I said and say it's inaccurate. Did Biden close down Bagram Air? Did Biden close down Bagram Air Base? Yes or no?
Like, I don't know if Parallax is interested in talking about.
Of course he's not. Neither's Brianna because they don't want to talk specifics. Hey, that's a good clip. Let's see if we got anything else. It was a joke. The panel was hilariously a joke. It really was. There are better Brianna clips there. I should have. Let's see. Mm-hmm. If you guys want to see, I forgot. He actually put up. There's the entire interaction with me and Brianna. If you're interested in that, here, we'll speed it up a little. So this is going to be sped up a little bit. This is the one I wanted to play. This is actually funny. This was July 10th. This debate occurred. Here we go.
And then $5 from neighbor guy. Brianna, instead of just saying Rob is spewing BS, can you provide one concise fact that Rob has provided that's inaccurate? Thank you. Okay.
Sure. There was last truth to Russiagate. COVID was real. January 6th was a insurrection. So there's 3 of them.
What about Russiagate was real?
Rob, I don't want to go into it. I'm going to decline to do the fire hose thing. It's not the topic. I'm not going to do that.
Cool. I didn't say anything about January 6th. I didn't say COVID wasn't real. So way to beat those straw mans down there and can't give one example on the thing definitively that I talked about. Now, to answer Wick. Now, so what you see here is that it's easy to just wave things away as a conspiracy theory and say that all of this distrust is just hyped up misinformation from right-wing sources calling it. It's easy to make those claims when the very institutions that you're defending are defending sort of your... That's okay, kind of boy. I'll say my piece. I'll say my piece. Brianna, did you say that there was a conspiracy theories that are being promulgated by right-wing media sources? Did you say that?
I don't want to get into this with you, Rob, today, because what's going to happen is we're going to go down a rabbit hole, and this whole panel that's about structural distrust is going to be like adjudicating a bunch of...
No, that's not what's happening, Brianna. I'll explain what happened. I feel that I actually...
Okay, one at a time. All of you will stop. All of you will stop, and we will go one at a time. Finish your thought, Brianna, very quickly, and then we'll go back.
Of course. What I don't want to do today is to start going through a system where we adjudicate a bunch of random conspiracy theories. My point, which I said, is this exists on the right and the left. RFK has been pushing vaccine conspiracies to California moms for a long time.
Oh, so good.
Right, is a human nature phenomenon.
Okay, so Econoboy interrupted me to say me accurately representing what Brianna said wasn't what was said. Then when I asked Brianna, is that what you said? She says I'm not going to engage with it. Both sides engage in conspiracy theories. So Econoboy, perhaps you should speak for yourself and not Brianna, who's unwilling to defend her own positions. Now, she's going to say that things are conspiracy theory and she doesn't want to get into the specifics of them. It would have been the same if I hand waved away her concerns about the Iraq war by saying, these are outlandish conspiracy theories. We don't want to get into it. You're anti-American. You're a misinformation peddler. You're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, that's what the Bush administration did. And people like Brianna that would have been marching with people like me that were against the Iraq war, that had a healthy distrust of our military industrial complex and CIA, were correct in that instance, just like I'm correct in many of the instances that people like Brianna would call me a conspiracy theorist. The difference that's occurred now, and it was one of the greatest propaganda victories in history, was the very people on the left that used to be the most distrusting of institutions like our intel agencies, our executive branch for things like Bush and the intel agencies lying us into the Iraq war. What happened was they had a president in Barack Obama who basically came in and continued all of those policies, and then we had a president named Donald Trump who is the avatar for everything that the people on the left hate, who said, wait a minute, I have questions about the intel agencies, to the point where Chuck Schumer told us that he shouldn't question the intel agencies because they'd find 6 ways of Sunday getting back at him, which is actually exactly what they did. And that's all it took for people like Brianna to go from protesting the Iraq war and being conspiracy theorists against organizations like the CIA and our military industrial complex to now being their biggest defenders. And we could go through issue after issue that shows they lied. For example, you say that they lied in Iraq. I agree. I say they lied in Libya. And they took a country that, granted, had someone who was a bad leader in Gaddafi, but in Africa, that country was doing pretty well. It had really high literacy rates, high levels of home ownership, etc. And now, because of the lies that were spread, it now has open-air slave markets, and there's no hope for them. Or the lies we were told for 20 years after spending trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, that we were told things are going swimmingly. We've almost turned the corner. Trust us, the Afghan security forces will prevail when we leave. And they failed in 3 days. Now, these sorts of lies occur over and over and over. Ironically, we talked about social media. Without social media, how would we have known that when Joe Biden had egg on his face through his disastrous Afghan pullout, where he closed Bagram Air Base, and then we relied on the very Taliban that freed ISIS, who then failed our soldiers, resulting in 13 of them dying? Remember when Joe Biden resolved that by killing ISIS-K, and everyone in the media went along with it, and everyone in the Biden administration went along with it, and then it was only because of citizen reporters and social media where the story went viral that actually it wasn't ISIS-K. It was a translator and his family. Let me finish my point real quick. It was a translator and his family that were killed. Now,
these sorts of things, this is why there's distrust. This is just one instance, the U.S. military. The more information that gets out there, the more we can see that they've lied over and over. But you can go through a history of it and see that actually our media has worked hand in hand with groups like the CIA for years, peddling their nonsense because they felt that it benefited them personally to get more access to these government institutions.
I guess I'll just ask you
Wait,
directly.
hold on. I was brought up there. Can I just respond?
Sure, you haven't had enough
Quickly,
speaking time. You're doing fantastic.
So I just want everyone to notice what Rob did. He completely mischaracterized what I said. That's not what I said. At no point during the Iraq War did I think like there was conspiracy theory at the CIA. I thought that exactly what was reported in the New York Times, that there was a rush to intelligence and there was political pressure being put on the CIA. And because the process for gathering that information, it allowed the Bush administration to pick and choose the intelligence reports that made the strongest reports to basically claim that there was no VND in Iraq. The question, Rob, you and I come to two different conclusions here. It's not that I can't point to police scandals or CIA failures or economic reports being cooked or things like that. I see that. I read the newspaper. I see those same stories. We have two different conclusions about how to handle it. I think what I would propose to everyone out there watching this today, we have a responsibility as citizens to go out, get high quality news sources, be informed.
Look, if you donate, it'll block Brianna's face
when things don't go
and the
wrong,
sound will block her news. Send money on Twitch.
What I get from your point here is we need to burn the entire system down. It's not trustworthy. And I don't think that's true. I think if you look at other countries around the world like Russia, they would kill to have a democracy like ours, as flawed as it is. And I think like you just take our processes for addressing this for granted.
She brought me up, so I'd like to respond. I guess that's
sure. I just want to ask you directly, Rob. So, and this.
No, I think it's ironic.
Just when the left does it, right? When the right does it, it's noble and great and awesome. But
it's funny. It's funny you would bring that up because I'm going to make the exact counterintuitive point. Actually, I've been quite consistent for things like mishandling of classified information, FAR violations, etc., because they're so prolific in our country and they're almost never charged. I didn't think that people like Biden or Hillary, etc., should have been charged. Neither did I think Trump should be charged. I think it's hilarious that Donald Trump that were PC and by the way actually violated the very same FEC.
I need to just ask the
Go ahead.
right to respond to it. And I don't want this to be the shot here. As I said, my view. Don't want to.
It seems like forth, and from the get-go, it seems like you're very reticent to talk specifics.
It is a fire hose of bullshit.
I understand why you're accurate. You're held legally accountable. However,
Do
we
you
must
disagree with that, Rob?
And Russiagate and be specific to address it. You haven't addressed
No,
anything.
I'm saying
Waiting views that they don't like. We saw that about COVID. We saw that about Russiagate and other such things, and that's actually perpetuating as we see going forward. To talk about Brianna's criticism of me specifically, I'll turn the criticism on her. She says that it's people like me.
Not addressing it.
That's fine, Brianna. You don't have to address it. You haven't addressed
No,
anything.
I'm saying you're not addressing anything I said directly. You're just going to flip it on me. Here we go. Fire hose time, y'all. Let's go, boys.
What she's trying to do is gaslight. So Brianna can't keep up on the specifics because it's not really a left-right issue. Now, again, I sat here patiently while you all talked at great length. I've only interrupted once or twice, and it was to ask a pertinent, specific question, not to moan on and make faces like you do, Brianna. You started off this debate being antagonistic to me, accusing me of being a conspiracy theorist, saying that things weren't... Anyways, you started off doing that, and then you seem to want to play the victim, which is something that you see quite frequently.
You're playing the victim right now, bro.
Which is something
Your
you see
feelings
quite...
are hurt. I'm so sorry I triggered you. I've been trying so hard to avoid it the whole time. I will triple down for you. I promise.
Which is something that you see is common with people like Brianna. They aren't capable of keeping up intellectually or with the specifics, so they have to use broad-reaching phrases like, you're a conspiracy theorist. Let's use the very example that she gave, talking about TERFs and talking about new literature that comes out describing medical procedures in the trans community. Imagine that Brianna said, well, actually, Rob, here's what the newest literature says, and I just say, that's all a conspiracy theory. I'm not interested in talking the specifics. Brianna would rightly say in that point of view, that's not responsive. You're not talking about the specifics. You're instead just attacking me and being dogmatic because you're not interested in the specifics because you have an agenda that's pre-confirmed to what your beliefs are and you don't want to hear anything that's antithetical to that. And that's exactly what Brianna's doing. The people that have called people like me conspiracy theories were wrong over and over and over again. They're wrong on COVID. They were wrong on Russiagate. They were wrong on Biden's cognitive decline. They gaslight on these blatant things, particularly Biden's cognitive decline, and called people like me and millions of others that saw what Biden was becoming right in front of our eyes conspiracy theorists.
At least to me, that's the interesting part.
Brianna, what's the first step to solving a problem?
I think Whick is the moderator here, and I'm going to stop letting you lead the panel. Boy, I want to go with something you just said. I think another really big problem that we have is the information that's out there. Something that's really changed in my lifetime is I can remember when the primary place you got information from was an actual newspaper. I think this move to a free model of news that we got online, I think it's ironic that we're all reading more and more than ever before, but so much of the news is partisan. I mean, even high-quality news sources like Vox, I think it's fair to say they have a very specific bent to them. So, something I think that we should be looking at is actually subsidizing the news business or giving it tax breaks or looking at some way to make it just sustainable, particularly local news. We are focusing so much on federal politics tonight. in my experience, local politics, that is where the corruption really, 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 really happens, and local news is absolutely shrinking. So I think literally one of the biggest problems with declining trust in institutions, all of us agree that the corruption is getting worse, the insider use of the power is getting worse. We don't have high quality information to even hold the people accountable. So I think that's a major component.
Hey, Parallax, what's the first step to solving a problem?
Recognizing one.
Thank you so much. At least you're honest and actually answered, unlike the two people above. Ironically, Brianna gets it exactly wrong, where she says maybe we should have the government fund these institutions. We've tried that. That's called NPR. They're one of the biggest purveyors of misinformation. And again, when we see that is absolutely true.
Objectively not true.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Hold on, because you both are just going to go back and forth. Brianna, can you point to the reason he's incorrect here?
Sure. I would, Rob, after this panel, I'll be very happy to show it to you, but I've seen many studies that show NPR viewers and listeners are some of the highest informed. They are lowest on things like believing misinformation, and I personally believe that saying NPR is like a mouthpiece of the government is one of these things right-wing repeats until they're blue in the face and people actually believe it. I don't think there's any evidence for it.
Okay, so
like, here we go again. It's like down a rabbit hole that has nothing to do with the fucking topic.
It has to do. So this is what's interesting. This whole debate's been this. I'll say something specifically relating to the topic, and then someone will say something specifically back to it. So Brianna said, I want to talk about solutions. My solutions to have state-funded media. So I say we have a state-funded media. I find them to be distruthful. Your response is that's not true, and it has nothing to do with the topic.
Trustworthy.
They're not trustworthy. So for example, you'll be able to find studies from another institution of academia that also
NPR
is trustworthy.
Hold on, Rob. I want to ask Rob directly. Who do you trust, right? Why do you trust alternative media anymore? Can you produce any evidence that they are more trustworthy or more accurate than other media sources?
First off, there's no one media outlet that I trust wholeheartedly. There are people and media outlets that I think have been more correct on major stories than others, but I always try my best to get varying biases. So I like listening to people like Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper and reading the New York Times and the Washington Post to get things from one side of the ledger, and then I like reading people like Mike Cernovich or people like Mike Benz or people like John Solomon to get things from the other side of the ledger. On many of these stories, all of those groups have been wrong on certain things. So for example, an NPR audience, for example, despite what some study will show you, when we see audiences like NPR that are predominantly left, we see that left-wingers were far more wrong about the severity of COVID. Like they thought that the death rate of COVID was something like 50%, the infected fatality rate. That 2/3 of Democrats in the 2018 YouGov poll said that Russia hacked voting machines to steal the election for Trump. So the idea that they're not purveying misinformation is just fundamentally wrong. Of course, institutionalists like Brianna that like the direction that misinformation is going.
It's personal attack has nothing to do with the subject.
I mean, again, you could say it's personal attack, but I'm saying that people like you that like NPRs because when their misinformation benefits your side 99% of the time, you're going to say, oh, they're mostly truthful. I don't see a problem with it.
99% of the time. That's the claim. We're going to come back to that.
Okay, show me a story that NPR has been inaccurate on.
This is literally the first fucking Google search, Rob. You look it up, media bias fact check. This is what it says. It says NPR, let me finish. It says the bias rating this is in your favor. It has a slight left bias, though is primarily center. The factualness of the reporting is rated high. The traffic of it is high, and the credibility rating, according to MBFC.
So, to be clear, Film Talk, I didn't say that NPR lies 99% of the time. I said that 99% of the time that NPR is wrong about something, it goes in the same direction. It goes in helping the Democrats, helping the establishment. Very rarely do they get a story wrong that's misinformation that helps Trump or that helps MAGA people. I don't know if I could ever think of an example.
Is very high credibility.
What is MBFC, just out of curiosity?
It does not say here. I'm reading the detailed report, but I'm sure if you looked at this, you can go through it and it gives
nice fact check. It's the site you're on.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So this is the point. Rob is coming through. This is why it doesn't make sense to go through and fact check every single one of this fire hose of false claims, because we can sit here, we can just Google it. It's the first result. Rob claims that the very first result is like, Rob claims that NPR is like a government mouthpiece. I look it up. The very first result shows that it's not. It shows it's high credibility. It's got a slight left-wing bias. Fair enough. Maybe we should look at that. And it goes through and gives a whole bunch of examples of the reporting.
I think Media Fact Check is the website she's on.
Being mostly neutral. He makes claims that 99% of the time it aligns with my point of view, and it's just not true. There's no evidence for this. So we will spend the 2 hours hunting down all this horse shit, and they will never get to talk about any of the stuff I actually prepared for with this panel. The conspiracy theory nut jobs are a huge part of why we cannot have an honest discussion in this country about figuring out our institutions, because the crazies on one side have their mind made up on everything and have a frame to understand the world, and so do the ones on the other. It is impossible to move forward.
So we can see Brianna's tactic here is to just trust these institutions wholeheartedly. She can't tell you the first fucking thing about media bias, fact check, and if they themselves are biased, whatever. She Googles something, sees the first answer, and there. That's definitive. Obviously, that's the definitive answer. Not that Google's algorithm itself already said. So the problem is we can see the same mainstream media that overarchingly gaslit us about things like Biden's Conference of Health, about Russiagate. Yes, again, I understand. This is
Facts don't matter.
Here we go. Victim Brianna, right? Victim Brianna. Next, she'll tell us that we're misogynistic because we don't like her constantly interrupting. I can talk louder and faster than you. I don't give a shit. Brianna, you're a crybaby. I understand the need to fill it, but I am answering.
Instead of insulting each other, can you?
Isn't that interesting? So I was told at the time. I was told. Go ahead, Brianna.
Hold on.
I'm sure you have something intelligent.
We have 10 more minutes left. I want to make sure everyone gets their chance. Okay. Briefly, Brianna, and then we gotta. I want to at least try to address the topic.
This is exactly why earlier in this panel I tried so hard to not start going down these rabbit holes with Rob, because look at what's happened to the discussion. Rob made a claim about NPR, and then we started talking about COVID, and he couldn't fact check that, and now we're switching topics again. And now the entire panel, rather than talking about the actual subject, is going through this fire hose of bullshit and trying to address it. It is so frustrating, and this is one of the biggest problems. We cannot fix these institutions.
Yeah. Brianna, I agree. However, I have more knowledge about COVID than anybody I know, and I cannot knowingly let somebody...
That's Elder Drazi, who I just debated Saturday and wrecked on COVID. More knowledge on COVID than anyone he knows. I forgot about that little gem. Oh, wow. That guy got wrecked Saturday debating me on COVID.
Publicly say something that isn't true about it. That's fucking crazy.
Sure,
I've been very good this whole time.
Sure.
No, not yet. Right, I know. You're the good person that's distrusting. We know Brianna likes that. Hey, just like Connor, maybe progressive victory will pay you guys as well.
You see this shit show. Fun. Woo!
This video is sponsored by
what is this? No,
Hey, guys.
don't do that. Get me demonetized or some shit here. Don't want that. Good stuff. Oh, Brianna. Great stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just looking through videos. What have we... Oh, man. The Brianna stuff's always good, though. Mm-hmm. Who's a better clown, Whick or Brianna? I like Whick. There are things about Whick. Brianna's not likable at all. Wick's trying his best to, in that debate, Whick was trying his best to collect his progressive victory pack money. I get it. No hard feelings. Listen, I'll be straight up. I'll tell you when I think someone's a reasonable debater and when they're not. Wick's not a good debater. Brianna's shit. She's terrible. Like, just absolute terrible. Brings nothing to the table. Brianna's good at saying a lot of things with saying nothing. I think we all need to come together to come up with solutions for the things that we distrust, and both sides could do it, but Trump's like really this uniquely horrible person. Like, it's just straight up bullshit NPC talking points in a way that's packaged with grievance culture that's got her a platform. I don't know what the fuck she did with Gamergate or whatever. Jordo Koplitz. I think I said that right. For $2. Thank you so much. That dude, Brianna, is so annoying. The lady, Brianna. Far be it from me to get banned on places for misgendering. Apparently I'm a misogynist because the way I argue against Brianna. Wick's not a great debater. He's not. But he's a likable guy. Elder Drazi, not a good debater. Parallax, the other guy that was on that panel there, I think he was probably... Econoboy's probably the best debater on that panel, and he's not very good unless he's talking about something hyper-specific on economics. Otherwise, he's just not that good. Parallax would have been the second best debater, though he barely says anything. But his tactics were, like... He's trying like some gotcha. Thanks so much, Gizmo. 38 months. My goodness, where's time go? Thank you, man. Always one of my favorite people to see on here. I hope you're doing great, Gizmo. It's really cool. Yeah, Wick's conceited too. I still think he's likable. Jordo, thanks again for $2. And that lady Wick is not likable. Trying to get me in trouble. Good, I'm glad to hear that, Gizmo. Parallax's big gotcha in that debate was when I said Biden had a disastrous pull down, he claimed I was spreading pull out of Afghanistan. He said I was spreading misinformation because I failed to include that Trump also pulled troops out. So that's an example of disinformation. So let me repeat. I basically make the claim the way that Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, he told us that the Afghan security forces would prevail. He pulled out. They failed within 3 days. He pulled out troops from Bagram Air Base. He relied on the Taliban for security. And then once the Taliban failed that security and it blew up 13 troops, he then tried to attack ISIS-K and it ended up killing a translator and his family that was helping us. And Parallax says, that's me on a panel talking about disinformation. That's me spreading disinformation. It's not that anything I said there was false. He doesn't dispute any of it. He just says that I left out the important context that there was like 10,000 troops and Trump drew that down to like 2,000. And Parallax leaves out the context that Obama also pulled out troops. So when Trump left office, there were still troops there. We still had Bagram Air Base. There weren't terrorist attacks on U.S. troops. ISIS wasn't freed from Bagram Air Base. We didn't have to rely on the Taliban and a public air force or airfield to get out. It's going good, your boy Jake. My boy Jake. Sorry for the X message. Don't worry about it, Conservative Carnage. But that to him is spreading misinformation. By the way, it's actually a good example. I'm glad that Parallax brings that up because that is how the establishment uses the term misinformation. Misinformation, whether or not something's true, is irrelevant. That's not what they're trying to. That's not what they're labeling as dis or misinformation. The truth of it is completely irrelevant. Whether or not it harms the talking points that they want is all that matters. So you could say something that's a blatant lie. You could say Trump said Nazis were fine people in Charlottesville. Blatant lie. You can go to the tape and see that it's bullshit. But you could repeat that ad nauseum. And no one says the government should censor that because it's disinformation. No one said that. But if you say something like, well, actually, I think that the virus probably came from a lab in Wuhan, they said you should be censored. Why? Did they know that wasn't true? No, they never knew that. It just hurt their narrative, so they said censor it. The truth was irrelevant. What do I got coming in the future? I don't have any debates set up immediately. I'm going to try to focus more and more on trying to drag Trump across the finish line. So I always, on election years, always do a 24-hour stream a couple days before the election. Usually I have some Congress people on. My former radio host will chime in. I'll bring some lefties on in that 24-hour show to debate. So that's the big project I've planned. That'll be sometime in late October. That'll be the big thing there. As far as debates, I don't give a shit. I'm done debating January 6th, I'll tell you that, unless it's with Destiny or Pisco, because that's sort of an ongoing conversation. So even them, though, I might say, I don't give a shit, because I'm going to start debating the terrible shit of the Harris-Biden administration and a Harris-Walz administration. So that's sort of what my plan is. But yeah, I'm always open for debates. Hopefully we'll be taking calls. So the plan immediately for this week, tomorrow I don't know what the show will be. Friday we'll try to do another call-in show where you could agree or disagree with me. I like that last Friday. So we'll try that. And then Saturday, baby, I'm cannon. I ain't streaming for shit. Is Andrew doing a TikTok invasion tonight? I didn't know that. Speaking of which, did you all see the insurrection outside the DNC? Did you see that? Did you see it? Burning American flags, attacking police because they're pissed off about the U.S.'s policy towards Israel. And then Joe Biden said, the president of the United States said, some of those people out there have a good point. Did he just incite an insurrection? Is that what just happened? Now, here's the best part about all of this. I absolutely love this. So all the people I debated, the Destinys, the Piscos, all these people, they're like, oh my God, January 6th insurrection, it's so terrible. Notice the definition that they eventually settled on was from this guy Graeber, and it's this 4-part definition. It says it has to be a public assembly, has to be an assemblage of people. It has to be to protest a law using violence, force, or intimidation. It has to be for a public good, and I forget what the 4th part was. I think that's all 4 parts. Thank you so much, Jordo. Super chat for $20 for your kung fu debate with that squishy fella. Funny as hell. Thank you, bro. No problem, man. Thank you. Thank you for the $20. Really appreciate it. Tom Foolery show for public purpose. Yeah. What's up, Tom? How you doing? I talked you up. You're moderating. Tom did a good job moderating. Actually, if anything, Tom was probably a little too biased for me, if I'm completely honest. I think a couple times he asked for clarification from Elder Drazi in ways that could come across as being a little antagonistic towards Elder Drazi. I didn't see it that way, but I could see it. But it didn't matter. Elder Drazi was getting blown the fuck out. Oops, stop swearing, Rob. Stop swearing. Anyways, then you see these Destiny fans. The first thing you say when I'll be like, uh-oh, DNC, insurrection outside the DNC. These are the 2 things they'll say. Like, what act of government, like, what proceeding are they interrupting? And the DNC is a private organization. So it can't be an insurrection. I'm sorry. Where was that in the definition? Did I miss that? Are they protesting actively where members of the executive and Congress are at? Yeah, they are. Are they pro? Even if they weren't, it's irrelevant. You don't have to. See, they like to pick and choose. There has to be an ongoing official proceeding, they say. That's not true at all. Where does their definition say that? Never says that. It is sufficient to protest a law or an act of the executive. That's sufficient. It doesn't have to be an official proceeding going on. For example, under their definition, if you wanted to protest the United States supplying aid to Israel, and you decide that you're going to use violence, you're going to bring machine guns, and you're going to attack a bunch of congressmen, that's an insurrection. Even if there's not an upcoming vote on supplying more money to Israel. The average Destiny fan isn't even smart enough to understand their own argument. I don't want to say average, but the ones that are the most vocal on X, there doesn't need to be an official proceeding. They're protesting the laws and the U.S. policy, the official U.S. policy of support for Israel. There's a congregation of them. All right. That meets test 1. I'll bring up, just so I'm not, just lest I be accused of misrepresenting. I got their definition here. Let me. Yeah, it's 4 parts. An assemblage of persons. Yeah, it was an assemblage of persons, right? Easily. Number 1. Acting to prevent the execution of one or more federal laws. Well, as Destiny articulated, that would include arguing against the executive, which is the enforcement mechanism. So they're acting against the official U.S. policy of funding Israel. For a public purpose. Yes, it's absolutely for a public purpose. Through the use of violence, force, or intimidation by numbers. Yes, violence. Insurrection. Weird. I don't hear Destiny or Pisco or any of these people calling it out. Isn't that strange? And then Biden goes in front, indoors, right inside where this insurrection's occurring outside, says some of those people have a good point. Huh. And he's the president. It's a private group. So what? It doesn't matter if they were there. They could have been outside protesting a fucking football game. Outside a football game. They're still protesting the official U.S. policy. And it's not just private. There are literally politicians in office right now, including the President of the United States, that were there. Insurrection. Where are they calling it out? This insurrection's okay? Or in D.C. there a couple weeks ago. Remember when they were attacking people from the U.S. Park Service? Again, protesting the U.S. policy on Israel? Insurrection. Weird. Why are we only focused about... If insurrections are so important and we can't morally vote for someone that's on the side of the insurrectionists, it's strange that I don't hear the same people that are the most vocal about that talking about the ongoing insurrections that we see. Yeah, isn't that weird, Flim Talk? It is almost like calling something an insurrection is just a political tool. That's exactly right. Which is why Destiny and Pisco have to admit that insurrection is morally neutral. There could be good insurrections. There could be bad insurrections. There could be really bad insurrections. So the fact just screaming insurrection, which is what they want to do about January 6th, proves nothing. Tom is now orbiting me. I accused Tom of orbiting Destiny, and now he's orbiting me because he's came to his senses. Thank God. He did it. We got Tom. Well, that's the point, tomfoolery. So the term, if it's morally neutral, is irrelevant. Saying whether or not something's an insurrection or not is irrelevant. If it meets a technical definition, and like I even said in my discussion with Destiny, the truth is, for example, if you could prove that, because one of the things I think easily meets my threshold regarding the seriousness is the pipe bombs. There were 2 pipe bombs. That's deadly serious. That's no joke. And I mean this at the utmost. If we were to find out, for example, that a group of Proud Boys or Oath Keepers or otherwise Trump supporters got together and planned to plant those pipe bombs in an attempt to kill people, I think that I would qualify as an insurrection to me based on my definition. Easily. So I'm not even saying... What I take umbrage with is the idea that we're saying that this was like an overarching insurrection. It wasn't. The vast majority of the people there, it was a riot that got out of control. That's what it was. It's clear to see. If the term insurrection literally is morally neutral, I do have a lot of mass. It does make orbiting easy. I'm losing weight, damn it. Leave me alone. Grounded Heights, thanks for the super chat, $10. Learned about you from Andrew, looked into you, and you're doing the Lord's work, my man. Keep on keeping on. Joe Derte watching me. Thank you. Much obliged. Thank you. And then there's the idea of, did Trump incite it? Did Trump engage? No. And like when you hear Destiny say, like, there were thousands of weapons there. Really? Like what? And I've had this debate with people. There were projectile weapons, like rocks that they threw, or a cell phone if they threw it. That's a projectile weapon. There were piercing weapons, like a flag. And again, when you take into conjunction everything Destiny was saying, I can't stress this enough. That 5-hour debate with Destiny was we were going to talk about the second part. He agreed that half of it would be talking about definitions and then half of it would be talking about the double standard, which I think is far more important. My take the whole time has been, you could broaden Definition of insurrection. Lecture fan, my man. The OG. Raiding me on Twitch. Shit, I was going to wrap up, but now I got to stick around. Got to stop swearing. Thank you so much, Lecture Fan. Great to hear you. Great. What's up, Lecture Fans audience? We're talking about insurrections that occurred in Chicago outside the DNC. And Joe Biden said some of them were making good points. Good job, Joe. Burning the American flags. You did it, Joe. President of the United States. Some of them are making good points. Good job, Sleepy Joe. In his defense, he has no idea where he's at after 10 p.m. So you got to give Joe a little leeway on that. They just like, what do they send him out there? Hey, Joe, if you go out there and say a few words, we promise we'll get you some chocolate chip on the way home. Oh, chocolate chip. Oh. $1 in the orbiter jar. That's not a bad idea. You're not getting it though, Tom. You're probably more financially stable than some of the other orbiters. EOD got booted from Twitch. If anyone deserves orbiter money, it's EOD. Anyways, equality, yeah. The debate I had with Destiny was supposed to be half the time talking about the definitions and half the time talking about the double standard. And the game's already given away when he admits, well, insurrections could be good or bad. Yeah, I don't really care about that semantical term. The only way that would matter would be the implication of, does that mean that we could keep Trump off the ballot? Which the court already said no. So it's irrelevant anyways. So then the question becomes, morally, what do we do with that? Morally, what do we do with a president that supposedly engaged in an insurrection? Because legally, the court's weighed in. So then the question is morally. But then the same question could be asked of a ton of other things. Like, for example, if I say the burning down of the Minneapolis police station by Black Lives Matter, which the following day a bail fund was promoted by Kamala Harris, if I say that's an insurrection and Tom says, no, it wasn't an insurrection, does it really matter? Based on the moral implications of that? If insurrections could be good or bad, that term itself has no power based on morally how we should approach a politician that seems to have supported it. The question is, what exactly were the actions that we're criticizing? Burning down a police station, attacking police officers, or in the case of January 6th, attacking police officers and security that was there, storming the Capitol, etc. And what was the engagement level of the politicians? Well, Kamala Harris promoted a bail fund. It's not sufficient to say, well, I technically don't think that it's an insurrection. Who gives a shit? And the reason that people are deeming certain things insurrections and other things not insurrection is because they're trying to do this clever sleight of hand. Let me give you a lesson on sort of the power of language. I had this feminist teacher. I took this, I forget what it was called, but it was basically this feminist class that I had one year in my undergrad study. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I was debating feminism at a really high level in collegiate debate. So at this point, I think it was my third year in debate, and I was pretty good, and I'm debating national teams, and they're using in a debate sense feminist arguments. Intersectional feminism, etc. So in order to prepare for this, I'm studying, I've debated it, I'm researching some of it. I'm not claiming to be an expert. But when I walk into this little state school I go to, Clarion University, and I take a course in speech communication on feminism, I was shocked at how little the professor knew. Like, one of the books that was required reading, not in a satirical way, was Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which that book would be shredded by like a feminist like Bell Hooks, like an intersectional feminist. So anyways, I'm in this class, and it was a shit show. It really was. It was like 85% women in this class, and most of the guys were me and my one friend, he was a rapper, white guy, they called him the Ghost. Really, really interesting guy. I got a lot of fun stories about the Ghost. But anyways, me and the Ghost would talk shit. We weren't taking her shit. And one day, we're going off the garbage, men are evil crap, and she starts reading these statistics. She's like, studies show that children that grow up in a feminine environment are like 70% better outcomes when measured, blah, 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 blah. And if they grow up in a toxically masculine environment, then, they're more likely to end up in jail or be victims of violence, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, so are you saying that kids that grow up with women are better than kids that grow up with men? No, she says, that's not what I'm saying. men and women, a man could be feminine, a woman could be masculine. And I was like, okay, well then define for me what a child growing up in a feminine environment is. And she says loving and nurturing and physical contact and, not being neglectful, like paying attention and keeping routines and bathing your child and feeding your child. And I said, well, then what's masculine? Neglect, not paying attention, not giving your kids meals, not bathing them, not helping them with the toilet, using physical violence against them, screaming at them, not showing any affection. And I was like, so what you're saying is that your big study says kids that grow up in good environments do good, and kids that grow up in bad environments do bad. Because you've just said feminism is basically all the good stuff, and masculine's all the bad stuff. But feminine doesn't mean woman, and masculine doesn't mean man. And she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 minutes later, she's like, this is why most courts give custody to mothers as opposed to fathers. But you just got saying there was no... Not only did she say that men could be... She made the argument there was not correlation. That it wasn't even that men are more likely to be masculine. It's a 50-50 shot, was the argument she made. Now, you notice how, when interrogated about what those words mean, feminine and masculine, she backs off and says, oh, no. It just means nurturing and good or aggressive and bad. And then you're like, oh, so you're saying men are bad. No, I'm not saying that. Of course. That's ridiculous. But then, so you're like, okay, then you come over to this section of the argument where it's like, okay, this is why women get custody and not men. See? And it completely changed. This is exactly what people were trying to do with this term insurrection. Well, insurrections could be good, insurrections could be bad, whatever. We just really we're into the semantics of it. That's all. We're just into the semantics. That's all. Okay, so I guess I'll have a 5-hour debate with you on the semantics of the term insurrection. Yeah, we're not saying good or bad, whatever. It could be good, it could be bad. We're just wondering, was January 6th an insurrection? That's it. And I'm like, okay, I'll have that debate as long as you agree to spend equal time talking about the double standard and how this is applied. Because my argument's going to be, who gives a shit if you call it an insurrection or not? The question is, why are you calling it an insurrection? Why are you so gung-ho? Well, because in the case of Destiny, who I was debating, not only did he want Trump taken off the ballot and not be allowed to run for office, but he also basically said that Trump supporters have effed around and found out if they get shot at a Trump rally. And he was unable to say definitively, when asked by his friend Pisco, if he wanted Trump to succumb to that injury. In other words, be assassinated. See, because insurrections are that bad. So that's what Trump and his supporters have coming to them. See how that works? That's what I wanted to talk about, the absurd double standard. Does it matter to me if we call the burning down of Minneapolis police station an insurrection or the Chaz situation an insurrection? No, the term itself doesn't matter to me. The actions that occurred within it are what the problem is. They murdered a 14-year-old black kid at the Chaz zone. There were all sorts of accusations of sexual assault, other forms of assault, extortion. This occurred for weeks while local politicians allowed it to occur. That's a problem. You can call it a coup, you can call it an insurrection, you can call it terrorism. Whatever it is, it's a problem. There should be legal consequences for it, and there should be moral consequences for how we treat the people that allowed that to occur. The term that we use to describe those actions doesn't really change the moral culpability of the people that's engaged or supported it. But that's the sleight of hand that they're playing. There we go. Dallas Buzz gets it. Across this line, you do not. Also, dude, Asian Americans, the preferred nomenclature. I'm a big Lebowski fan. Love that movie. Who's chirping me? Oh, boy. So anyways, insurrection occurred. And then as soon as you throw it back in their face, and I always love this. I love this. Again, the difference between me and so many of these people that we see on the left, what do I really want? Like, what's my ideal government? Lecture Fan rated me. Lecture Fan's more conservative than me. I'm a populist, so I'm just against corruption. I'm more small government, like libertarian. Not totally, I'm not libertarian, but I'm closer, I'm libertarian adjacent. You want to come on and say a bunch of bullshit online that ends up being untrue? Okay. That's fine. You should have the right to do that. Yeah. You want to spread some conspiracy theory? Okay. It's fine. But these people, particularly in the institutional left, they want to weaponize the government to go after you and the people you support. So Alex Jones has to pay like $1 billion because of conspiracy theories about Sandy Hook. And I was like, for me, I thought it was hilarious that how is it that people that stream, whose job is streaming like 8 hours a day. Now, try this. If you're not a streamer, try it. I don't know if Lecture Fan's still listening. He'll back me up on this. Who else might be listening that's a streamer? EOD? Aircraft Sparky? Turn on your computer, even if you're streaming to no one, even if no one's watching, try to talk for 6 hours. Go for it. You're probably going to say something stupid. I do all the time. Tom's here. You say dumb stuff. Especially if you're doing it hundreds of hours a year. Especially if you're doing it and you're trying to be a little edgy, because it's a little, right? So if you're someone like Vosh or Destiny or Hassan or Tom, yeah, you say something dumb. You might even espouse some really crazy theories in the heat of the moment. So you would think that crew would be like, well, even if just for self-preservation reasons, I'm not so sure I'm going to cheer on a guy being fined $1 billion for spreading a, quote, conspiracy theory. Because what if you say, I think Trump buried the nuclear secret documents that he stole with his ex-wife? That's a pretty outlandish conspiracy theory. If that woman's children decide, or grandchildren, or sisters, or brothers, or whatever, decide that they're going to sue you for those malicious rumors, if her grave gets desecrated and you said that, are you on the hook for that outlandish conspiracy theory? And I said this at the time. I'm like, I don't understand, even for self-preservation reasons. Then how many of those left-wing streamers were like, nah, Trump, that assassination attempt was fake. Trump didn't get hit by a bullet. I heard some of them say that there wasn't even people in the crowd that got hit. Corey Competore didn't die. It was fake. It was made up. Or it was ordered by Trump. Trump intentionally had a sniper hit his ear to weaponize support. Does Corey Competore's family get to sue for billions of dollars? And, of course, the very leftists that cheered against Alex Jones, correctly this time, without batting eyes, like, that's absurd. Why shouldn't I be allowed to say that? I agree. You should be allowed to say that. But your standard was that Alex Jones must be punished. So why shouldn't you be? Why shouldn't you be held to the very standard that you wanted and succeeded in cheering for with Alex Jones? Why shouldn't it be held to you? And they do this shit all the time. Trump, here's a theory that was mainstream in Democratic circles. Trump was groomed by Vladimir Putin to be a spy, a Manchurian candidate, right? Even some of them say as far back as his time on The Apprentice. So Trump had these back channels to Putin. And then Trump went on national TV at a rally and said, hey, I hope Russia hacks Hillary's emails. And then they did. You remember that? Oh boy, they some of them still say it. He went on national TV and told Russia to hack. Of course, if you're watching that and you're remotely objective, you can see exactly what happened. One, it makes no sense if Donald Trump had a back channel to Russia and Vladimir Putin, instead of using that back channel to call for the hacking of his opponent, he instead said it on national television. That's insane. But even if we overlook that, it's clear what was going on was Trump was making a jab at the FBI, because the FBI never enforces the law when it comes to institutionalists like Hillary Clinton. So he was saying, well, the fact that these subpoenaed emails got deleted, the only way, the FBI ain't going to find them. They ain't going to hold anyone accountable. So the only chance we ever have of seeing them is if places like Russia hacked her server and releases it. It's clearly a joke. Democrats said no. They forget what jokes are. No, it's not a joke. Those were the words he said. Okay, fine. Then years later, Hillary Clinton, mocking that situation, says, hey, Russia, why don't you hack Trump's tax returns? Okay, now she should be investigated, right? Right? She said it. Hillary said it. So that means she was calling for Russia to hack? No, they'll say. No, that's different. She was clearly joking.
Since Russia...
Right? How's this any different?
...is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. Now, according to the Mueller report, that is not conspiracy because it's done right out in the open. So if after this hypothetical Democratic candidate says this on your show, within hours, all of a sudden the IRS offices are bombarded with...
Okay. Oh, by the way, weren't tax returns then given to Rachel Maddow's show illegally from Trump? Whoops. Trump said fight like hell. That's incitement to an insurrection. Okay. Can we point to when Biden says fight like hell? Can we point to that? Nah, that's different. When Chuck Schumer said Kavanaugh had reaped the whirlwind and then there was an assassination attempt on him, nah, that's different. It's always different. They don't want to be held to the same standards that they seek upon you. Last thing we'll do tonight is, let's listen. If you want to know, now, the reason that I was doing this discussions, I was actually very morose after the assassination attempt on Trump because of how insane it was. And then to watch all these people like Destiny, like, it seemed maybe gaslighting people that he wanted attacks against Trump or his supporters, and again, I think most of it was just jokes, but when Pisco directly asks him, did you want that attack to succeed? And he says, oh, I don't know what I could say. What's that sound like to you? And I thought that it was important to try to de-radicalize people. That's what I thought. Especially when people were showing me clips of Destiny's Reddit community, and it seemed like there was some real dark shit being said by some of these people. And I know a lot of his audience is younger and impressionable. So here's a call I had the other night. We're going to speed this up a little, so we're going to go at 1.25 speed, 17-minute video. But I want you to listen to this debate, and when we're talking about calls to incite violence and whatever, and see how this ends.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, hey, man, I don't mind if you say it. Go for it.
Well, yeah, I would have rather if that went first.
What's up, Scatman John?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Do you remember me?
No.
No, not at all? Okay.
No.
Well, we debated a little bit ago. It was like 2 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to come on.
What did we debate about?
I think it was supposed to be on Trump, but then I think we focused mainly on systemic racism, which kind of bled over into like welfare and all that.
Okay.
But I feel like I
don't remember, but it's okay. That's not a attack on you.
No, I know.
But all right, what do you want to talk about then?
Well, I wanted to talk about you brought up that clip from Biden today, and you were talking about how that from the left's how do you say from their like perspective, the way they're portraying Trump and everything, that this should be basically this is a call for violence, and that like this should be like as condemned as any like Trump saying go fight like hell or whatever, right?
Yeah, I guess what I said was in my standard, I don't think this is a call to violence. But once you say that Trump saying fight like hell was a call to violence and engagement in insurrection, so much so that it was used in court hearings as proof that he engaged in an insurrection, then that standard should be applied equally, including to Democrat politicians such as Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi or AOC or Joe Biden. Or Chuck Schumer, when they make calls like this, particularly when they come before or after acts of violence against the people that they're calling for.
Okay, so I again, I'm going to speak for myself. There are a lot of stupid people on my side too, but I'm just speaking for myself here. I would say that take that like is like completely missing a fuck ton of context. I'm sorry, can I swear on here?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. Just want to make sure. But that the fact that it's not that Trump is just saying fight like hell, like you said, politicians speak like this all the time. It's just a way to get people energized. But the context behind this is Trump for months before the election, and then during the election and after the election.
Let's start here. Right,
okay.
Real quick.
Can I get my thing out?
No, but you can't.
No? But why can't I?
Let's start here, just so I understand, and then you can finish this point. Are you saying that Donald Trump called for violence?
In that specific moment, with all the context behind everything else that he had said, absolutely.
Okay, you can finish your point. I just want to make sure because everything else you're saying, if you would have said, well, no, sort of changes the context of what you're saying, right?
Sure,
so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No. Okay, sorry. I remember in our last debate,
So if you're just tuning in, this was a conversation I had with someone last week. The context of this, it was a live stream I was doing about Joe Biden saying we need to beat the hell out of him, referring to Trump and I assume his supporters. And if Trump's saying fight like hell is a call to violence, then why isn't Biden saying beat the hell out of them a call to violence? And this caller is going to say Trump was calling for violence, but he initially says Biden saying beat the hell out of them is not a call for violence. We'll see where it goes here. So this was from last Friday, I think?
I came in, I was like very, very like soft, and I let a lot of things slide that I shouldn't, and I feel like never mind. Okay, whatever. But anyways, to continue on my point is that with all the context behind what Trump is saying, that the country's being stolen from us, that they've rigged the votes with Hugo Chavez's ghost and Dominion machines, and that all these things, your country's being stolen from you. If you're hyping up that this crazy, insane conspiracy is happening, that is literally gonna like ruin your life and destroy your country. That saying that with that context, and I'll add on the fact that Trump. I believe during the speech at the Ellipse before January 6th, we can basically say, or I can say, you would probably disagree with me, but I don't think Trump actually, like, I don't think he thinks that there's like election fraud or anything like that. I think he's doing this to stay in power.
Okay,
so with all that context behind that.
Okay, so your proof that Donald Trump called for violence basically boils down to two things. That he said it in the context of this great, big, huge, nefarious thing that he was saying, that the stakes were very high because he said your country was going to be stolen. That's part one, right? And part two is that was a lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although that's a bit less important than.
Okay. Joe Biden says that Trump is a threat to democracy, that he called Nazis good people, so much so that Joe Biden said that's the reason he decided to run for office in 2020. Sure. Saying that the country is going to be ran by a Nazi seems to be really high stakes. Would you agree?
Sure. I would totally agree.
Okay. And that's a lie. Trump never said Nazis were good people. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Okay, so then how does this not meet the exact criteria that you outlined?
The difference is, actually, I'll go back on what I said. The lie thing is very important because calling Trump a fascist is true.
He said that. Now, do you see? He said the lie thing's not that important, right? And this is a question I had early and often when it came to people talking about Trump engaging in an engaging in an insurrection, which is, there we go. Because what they'll say is, it had to be a lie. Or Trump lied. Trump said he knew that the election wasn't stolen, but he said it. Can you incite violence without a lie? And I've been saying this for 4 years. For example, because first off, it's bullshit. You can't prove that Trump thought that the election wasn't stolen and he was just lying. Thank you, ADD. Appreciate it. Appreciate the follow. You can't even prove that the election wasn't stolen. You can't. But that's a debate that's sort of irrelevant if we say that a lie is not necessary to incite violence. So, for example, if someone tells you Michael Brown was murdered by a racist police officer, and then there are riots because you say we need to take it to the streets, no justice, no peace, did you incite violence? Because it was a lie? What if it wasn't a lie? Then it's not an incitement to violence? So it's actually a very important point. So notice he says right out of the gate, he's like, well, the lie part's not important, really. I say there's two things. You're saying he said fight like hell in the context of saying the country's in a lot of trouble, okay, and that it was a lie. He says the lie part's not that important. Immediately when confronted with Joe Biden's claims, he's like, well, the lie thing is important. And Trump is a fascist, so it's okay to call him a fascist. So it's not incitement to violence. No, that's subjective. That might be his opinion, but he said that Trump said Nazis are good people. That's a lie.
Yeah, sure. In that specific example, I would say I would condemn that. But like the Democrats calling Trump a fascist, doing these things that are very extreme, are okay because he's acting like a fascist.
I don't give a shit that you're equivocating now. You're saying, in my opinion, Trump is a fascist, so therefore, if you call him a fascist and then say to beat them like hell, I personally don't consider that a call to violence. I think that's irrelevant as to whether it's true or not. Nonetheless, it's irrelevant to the point that I'm making with you right now. I'm talking about something specific that even you admitted was a lie, that Kamala's team, her campaign team, just tweeted out again yesterday or today, I don't know which one it was, that Trump said that Nazis were fine people or whatever. That's why Joe Biden said he ran. That meets your criteria. You outlined two criteria. If the claim is really huge, that your country's going to be stolen, etc., that would fit right in with your country's going to be ran by someone who says Nazis are good people, that's a threat to democracy, a fascist. That's number one. And second, if it was a lie. You initially said, let me finish. You initially said, if it's a lie, it's not that important. Then once you realized, Joe Biden just met the exact criteria I outlined, you said, let me take that back. Let me say that if it's a lie is very important. To my response is, okay, you still admitted that what he said about Trump saying Nazis are good people is a lie. So explain to me again how, now I want you to explain to me. I gave you a chance to outline. I asked you, I said, this is basically your position. It's these two things. You said, yes, I just explained to you how Joe Biden's claim today that they need to beat the hell out of Trump and presumably it's support. Let me finish. Almost finished. And I just explained how that meets the same criteria that you outlined. Now, can you explain to me why you don't think that's the case now?
Because Joe Biden lying, I'm not even sure, he might not even know that that's not true. But Joe Biden lying in one specific example is not the same as Trump always lying about this whole thing for months, even knowing this is not true.
Joe Biden's not only lied about this for months, it's been years. He claimed that the reason he ran for office was that Trump said Charlottesville and Trump said Nazis are good people. So this isn't just a one-off lie. And that lie's far worse than any lie Trump told because it's objectively...
No way.
Of course it is, for two reasons. One, it's objectively untrue. Anyone can see with their own eyes that's watched the video.
Did he say?
Let me finish. It's objectively untrue. Trump never said Nazis were good people, as you can see through your own eyes. Whereas with Trump's claims of the election being stolen, we don't know if Trump believes that or not. And there are still significant questions out there in certain states about whether or not there were shenanigans that could have affected those states. So one is a lie that you might say we don't see proof, and I don't think that Trump believed it, whereas the other is an objective lie. He said X when he didn't say X.
What did Donald Trump say? Like, I don't
Trump said there are fine people on both sides. Clearly, I'm not talking about the Nazis, the white supremacists. They should be condemned.
Okay, hold on. Okay, sure. Okay, then, but here's the thing.
So then you can see that, real quick, you'll concede that Biden's claim today that we need to beat the hell out of them meets your criteria for a call to violence.
No, because that he didn't predicate that one thing that, sure, I will say he's spreading misinformation, he's lying there. That's not predicated on that one thing. If it were, then sure, that's a call to violence. But he's not. That whole thing is predicated on the fact that they think that Trump, and I think that Trump acts like a fascist, that he wants to destroy democracy. And that is true. That's the difference.
Okay, so then, first off, I don't believe you because I think that one of the big reasons that people think that Trump will be such a danger is because they think he said Nazis were good people, which is a lie. So
that's not why. I'm sorry.
That is one of the key reasons. That is a lie that has been told. Yes, it is. And secondly, why does whether or not it's the truth or a lie matter anyways? So you're telling me that I can't incite someone to violence by telling them the truth?
The difference is that if you're inciting someone to violence over a lie, if I'm saying that, like, if I told, like, let me think of an example. If I told that, like, I'm trying to think. Let's say that
John Rock, thanks for the super chat, $2. More people need to support Rob Noor. And I agree, both financially and mentally and physically. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Thank you. We'll get to we only got a couple more minutes of this brilliance.
If I went over to West Africa, as they were trying to like ship people back over to America to be slaves, I told them they're going to make you slaves. They're going to enslave you. They're going to beat the shit out of you. They're going to kill you. They're going to keep your family like this forever. And that's an incitement to violence. That isn't. If someone told you that someone's going to enslave you, you're of course going to want to fight them. But that's true, and so that's the morally correct.
So then your claim is Joe Biden is inciting people to violence, but it's for a good reason.
Sure, I'll take that position.
Okay, yeah, you've lost in the debate. So I just want everyone to hear. You just heard that. He just admitted that Joe Biden, weeks after an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, just incited violence against Donald Trump.
Which was done by a Republican.
He was done by some. Do you live? What state do you live in?
Massachusetts.
Do you have open primaries in Massachusetts?
I think so. No, I don't actually.
Okay, you are aware in Pennsylvania that we have closed primaries, correct?
Sure, but
are you aware of the fact that there are many people that register Republican that are actually Democrats?
Thanks, bad boys. Yeah, sure, but the majority of people who register as Republicans are Republicans.
How many Republicans?
You can't just make that claim.
How many Republicans? Okay, fine. Now we're going on to specifics. How many Republicans do you know that have donated to Act Blue? Can you name me one?
Okay. This is like we don't know that this is like him. Like also.
I asked you a question. Just name me one. John Ruck, Super Chat, $2 again. Thank you. You can give to PayPal or other ways so YouTube doesn't get 30%. Thank you. Yeah, the PayPal, I'll put that up for everyone. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, John. Link should be there. It didn't disrupt at all. Name me one.
I don't know.
You don't know? You can't name me one?
No.
Okay, would you admit that seems very unusual, someone that's a diehard Republican who tries to assassinate the Republican candidate for president who's donated to Act Blue? That seems a little strange, doesn't it?
Also, isn't it strange that like didn't we find out that like in his like from his classmates that like he was like kind of on this like what's the incel the incel?
What does that have anything to do? You seem to make it.
The whole ideology of like of incels is like.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off here just to read a super chat because I'll miss it. Super chat for $5.99. Thank you. Pinkerton says, Rob, this is a Destiny or very least Destiny fanboy. Similar voice, same vocabulary, extremely close talking patterns, and Spurg's the same way. Whatever. I don't care if you like.
Okay. I mean, I am. I don't care. Like,
I know.
Okay.
Cool. Nonetheless, again, so here's where we are now. First, you seem to suggest that Trump was uniquely bad for inciting violence and did.
No. Okay.
Please let me finish. Then you admit, okay, actually Biden did incite violence, but it's for a good reason. Then when I bring up that comes off the heels of a month ago an assassination attempt on Trump, you go, by a Republican. That's irrelevant to the point we're making here anyways, but if we're going to focus on that, it seems like it was a Republican that donated to Act Blue. You don't have a good answer for that, so you just say, well, he may have been an incel. Okay. How does that like, okay, so let's say I accept that. Let's say I accept that. I don't know that. We know very little about the guy. There have been classmates that have said varying things that I've heard. Sure. We don't have anything definitive, but let's say for the sake of argument, I'd say, okay, he was an incel. Jarhead, thank you so much, man. Super chat, $20. Killing it as always. Thank you. I appreciate it. I am trying to kill it, even if I'm just kind of cheating a little looking at my old video here. Thank you. So now I'll restate my position. You appear to be saying Joe Biden just called for violence against Trump a month after an attempted assassination attempt on him by an incel. Good?
Oh, okay, fine. But was I coming in here? Okay. Fine, let's argue about like I'm sure we'll disagree about like whether the incitement to violence thing, like whether Joe Biden has like a moral right to incite violence.
You're saying so. I just want to be clear. You're conceding that Joe Biden was inciting.
I don't know if I would have to think about this more. But for the sake of this argument, for the sake of this specific debate, where I'm not gonna take like a 10-minute pause to like. But think about it, unless you want me to do that.
What I would say is he wasn't, and Donald Trump wasn't. I would say both of them were saying things that they thought that they believed, and even if you don't think that they believed them, it doesn't matter. That's not calling for violence.
I don't
know.
More than
if someone says, I think the country's systemically racist, I don't think that's a call for violence. You do. Direct self-defense is different than political violence. Now, given that you said if something's truthful, so now we're at this. We'll talk about this in a second, but I have a question for you. Given that you said that you're okay with incitement to violence, brief side question. So then you're also okay with violence if it's for a true purpose that's necessary.
Yes.
So just to be clear, you think that let's say Donald Trump wins the election, it would be okay to commit violence against him, correct? Because he is a fascist.
Yeah, I think it probably like Donald Trump acting like a fascist. Absolutely.
At the time when that bullet skimmed by his ear, he was clearly the front runner for president, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that bullet should have killed him?
Am I allowed to say that?
Hey man, I don't mind if you say it. Go for it.
Well, yeah, I would have rather if that went through his skull.
So you think the assassin did a good thing?
Well, I think he did a bad thing by missing. But if the alternate scenario happened, then yes.
Okay. See ya. Fucking fascist. Notice the people that call you fascist and call their opponents fascist are those people. Now, remember when I was, after Destiny was going on his Piers Morgan shtick and all that, and I said, you understand how radical some of his younger supporters are? You understand? Now do you see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? Do you see? They just have the balls to come out and say it. Thanks so much, Frank. Oh, there's a guy so certain of his convictions that he's willing to call for the assassination of a political figure that he doesn't like. Thanks so much for the following. And the guy fucking rambled and meandered and couldn't get 2 words out straight the entire time. You know what's crazy? I'll forget. 2 years from now, that guy will reach out to me and say, hey, you want to talk? And I'll forget that, no, I don't want to talk with someone. A precursor to having conversation with me, as I've said many times, is not calling for the assassination attempt of politicians that you don't like. That's a precursor. So he does not meet that precursor. He's no longer welcome on this show. Am I allowed to say it? Sure, I allow you, big boy. Have at her. That's what the debate's about. That's what the insurrection debate's about, right there. Justifying their hatred and the extreme actions that they want to take against you. They have to make Trump to be a monster, an insurrectionist, to justify that. They have to make you a monster to justify what they want to do to you. James Lynch, are you talking to me? You talk, but how is your intelligence and intuition? Fair. I didn't talk about it. I think they said they're going to announce. We mentioned it briefly, but I think RFK said he's going to give a speech Friday, and the speculation is he's dropping out and supporting Trump. I think that's good. Now, show me once where I've ever called for violence against political opposition. Yeah, that's true, Scuffed. Their political ideology is comprehensively summarized as they hate you and want to hurt you. Yeah. So, it's always shocking to hear that stuff, but that's what this whole January 6th debate is. Now, we all know that it's absurd. We see the absurdities of it. So when you point out, okay, well, based on your definitions, what's occurring outside the DNC is they're burning American flags, clashing with police officers, National Guards, protesting the U.S. policy vis-a-vis Israel. That's an insurrection, right? And immediately they're all like, of course not. Come on, Rob, that's ridiculous. Dude, that's how broad your boy Destiny made the definition. No problem, James. Thanks. They broaden the definition out so they could say Trump and his supporters are insurrectionists, and then they're like, therefore go to prison, therefore violence could be used against you because you're fascist, blah, 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 blah. And then when you point out the absurdity of how broadening it out that much means that things like what's occurring outside the DNC right now is an insurrection, they're like, that's clearly a joke. Clearly it's not. All right, 3 hours on. Let's raid someone on Twitch. Repay the favorite lecture fan. The great lecture fan raiding me. What an honor. Big lecture fan. Who we got today? We got Hutch. Oh, Sparky's on. Of course, that's easy. Let's raid Sparky. So, I should be streaming tomorrow evening. Topic to be determined. Oh, I don't know how to rate on YouTube, tomfoolery. I have no clue. I would. For real, I would. I don't know how to get subscriptions on YouTube. I don't know how to rate on YouTube. But if you talk me through at some point, Tom, I'll happily raid you when I see you on. Andrew Wilson's tried to talk me through it. But, yeah, let me know, Tom. All right, so we're going to raid Sparky on Twitch. Thank you so much, all the donations. It really means a lot to me, it does. I promise you this week, donations will go to things to jar pickles this weekend as I'm going on a canning trip. It should be fun, so thank you all so much. Friday's going to be the call-in show. Tomorrow we'll see. Maybe I'll line up a debate or something. Talk about something. But you guys are the best. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sorry I didn't stream much this week prior to this. My work situation was crazy. You go back and watch the beginning of this video to hear a little about that. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. You guys are the best as always. As always, have a good one.